up? Welcome to Shawn and Maya in the morning on this Hump Day edition. Guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm your boy, the Superback Shawn Sierra, and what a wonderful day it is. Going to be about mid-80s here in the Chi. Man, I can't wait to get out there and just start enjoying this summer. Restaurants open today in the city. Woo-wee! We can go inside and eat. I like it. I like it a lot. Well, listen, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you're watching this on Facebook Live, well, then I guess you found us on Facebook. Now, you can also tweet the show. You can tweet us at SM_mornings or at SportsZone Chi. That's CHI, at SportsZone Chi. Now, if you want to follow me, just me personally online, want to know what I did? Let me tell you what I did. Want to know what I did? Here's what I did. I made it nice and easy for you folks. Nice and easy. One handle for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, the Snapper. All one handle at the Shawn Sierra. And here's, oh yeah, she's back, baby. Fresh off her early morning workout. She's getting it in the morning. She's my co-host, the co-pilot in this insanity, the one and only Maya Akai. What up, Maya?
I am sweating like an old woman in menopause. That's what's going on right now.
I don't know anything about that.
You know how it is. Dude, when you get older, you like jumpstart your metabolism. It's like it takes you like about an hour and a half to cool off when it's over. It's like, no, I'm still going. I'm still going. It's like, no, we're not going. No, good workout though. I've improved. And I was listening to Sirius XM this morning when I was running. Okay. So everyone knows I'm a big fan of Pitbull Globalization, right? So this morning, Big Syph was on. Okay. I cut 2 minutes off of each of my miles, but I almost got it back because he almost made me stop in the middle of the street and start dancing. Seriously, it was that good. It was good stuff. But no, but I am here. We've got some good stuff to talk about. Shawn, I'm getting worried. I don't know if we're going to get any sports. This is not looking good right now.
You know what? Things are looking a little eerie as we speak.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about that today, especially baseball. Well, no, not especially, but baseball, basketball. Hey, at least we got hockey. They're ready.
Right. At least we still have hockey. But anyways, if you want to comment on what I'm saying, you can always find me at the Sports Chica on Facebook and Twitter and Maya_Akai. And of course, right there on the screen, I have all the information of how you can find me.
Look at you. Oh, you fancy pants over there.
I'm fancy, huh? Mm-hmm.
So you had a good workout. What'd you do today? How many miles did you get in? You started jogging?
I cap it at 3 because I'm doing interval. So for me, 3 is my max that I try to do. And now it's like, so how I was kind of pacing myself was initially when I started was I was walking 2 blocks, running 1 block. And now I moved from, running and walking a block. Now I'm up to walking 1 block, but running 2 blocks. And so now that I've kind of increased the, endurance for running, now my goal is to run more than I walk, but I'm always capping it at 3 miles is what I'm doing. So yeah, that's my off when I'm not doing my HIIT workout. This is what I do on the off days. Okay. I was gonna say you should like Kendall. He got everyone doing that 60-40. That's insane. I was doing that for a while. So my Achilles got a little sore. Kendall ain't good, but see, Kendall he ain't gonna kill me. So
that's no bump.
I just said Kendall's not gonna kill me.
Supermodel Maya when she gets done with that stuff. Supermodel Maya. There's no more Shawn and Maya in the morning. Maya's off running the runways in Paris because she's gonna be so slim and fit. Trust me, that 60-40 is no punk.
I might have to check it out. I'm always willing to try some different stuff out because I don't like doing the same thing all the time because it gets boring to me. So yeah, I'm gonna check it out because somebody else mentioned that and I was like, yeah, that sounds like I might hurt myself. But yeah, but you know what? That's exactly why I would do it because I might hurt myself because I like when things are hard. I know that sounds crazy. Mm-hmm. That motivates me. I'm one of those people that I have to feel like I can't do it because then that makes me really want to do it more. Except for burpees, I will tell myself I can't do a burpee. And
I hate burpees.
You know what? I really, really hate burpees. When the people say that word, I actually make a face. And they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I hate burpees. So the other day we had at CrossFit, you guys see I'm wearing my new CrossFit t-shirt. Veronica gave it to me. She's the owner, the Hefa owner. And I got my brand new, my CrossFit Warehouse shirt. So the other day was the crappiest workout I've ever had in my life. It was burpees and sprints. And sprints.
See, unless a person has actually been tortured, Shawn, and done a burpee, they don't understand what you really just said. I don't understand. Just the fact that you had the endurance to come back from that is kind of blowing my mind because that's a lot of cardio. I mean, that's crazy.
Well, it wasn't even a regular burpee. So it was a deadlift burpee. So you had men had 50. I was like, I'm not training for anything. So I had a 40 pound dumbbells. So you drop, you do a burpee, but when you stand up with the dumbbells, so it's a deadlift.
Oh, okay.
So
So it was a modified burpee. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we everything was the same except when you stood up, you had the dumbbells in your hand and you did a deadlift. So we did 9 burpees. It was a 200-meter run, 9 burpees. That was one round. 200-meter run, 9 burpees twice. 200-meter run, 9 burpees. We had to do this 10 times. Your son's been asked for school 10 times, Mrs. Bueller. 10. I was freaking dying. I'm dying. But I felt good.
Yeah, I feel for you. I'm Shaka Khan with you on that. Shaka Khan, I feel for yeah. Because that sounds like I'm serious. I would have had the worst attitude that day in class. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
yeah, that wasn't fun. But you know what? I got through it. And did you die? No, so we're all good. But I was not a big fan. And the 6 o'clock class were like, you don't look happy. I said, I'm not. I'm not happy at all.
I love all the sayings that people like that are in CrossFit or in HIIT classes, specialized kind of gyms like that. They always have some great sayings. And the 2 best ones I came across, one was like, it says, fitness is like a marriage. It'll never work if you cheat. And I was like, yeah, very true. And the other one was, it's nothing that your body can't do. It's your mind that's stopping you. And it's really true if you think about it. In the midst of your workout, when you want to quit, it's mentally you're telling yourself, I can't do this anymore. But physically, you ever have those days you're like, I can do this. And you just push through it and keep doing it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So it really is, the whole workout approach. The biggest hurdle really is your mindset towards what you're doing. If you can get past the mindset, everything else tends to fall into place.
It's not your body you have to convince, it's your mind.
To be honest, it really is. And once you convince your mind, you're like, okay, I got this. And things get so much easier once you get over that hump. So,
yeah. Well, listen, guys, if you watch this on Facebook Live, well, then I guess you found us on Facebook. Now, we talked about tweeting the show, but you know what? If you leave a question or comment, you want to get it heard, then just type it in on the page. It'll pop up right on the screen, unless it's really stupid. Then Ivan won't post it up. But if it's not stupid, Ivan will post it right on the screen. See, we got the little ticker at the bottom, guys. We got a whole bunch of stuff for you now. That's how we need you to get interactive with us today, because we got a great show for you. When I say that we got a great show, I would not bull jive. And David Kenyon from Bleacher Report, he's going to call in at 9:30 at the bottom of the hour. We're talking a lot of NCAA action. Okay, there was a big scandal. No, not at Iowa, Maya, not this time. At Ohio State, at Oklahoma State, at Oklahoma State. Which reminds me, I didn't put that in the rundown. I forgot about that. We'll talk about Chris Doyle and his departure from Iowa, but that's another story. There's a big scandal at Oklahoma State University where their top running back was not going to participate due to a T-shirt that their head coach was wearing. Oh my God, over a T-shirt. So David Kenny's going to talk about that with us. And at 10 o'clock, our guy, Frank Schwab, the Schwaba from Yahoo Sports, is going to call in. We're going to talk NFL action. What the hell's going on in Texas? Everyone and their mama's coming down with COVID-19 on the Cowboys, on the Texans. Lord have mercy. What is happening there? So Frank Schwab's going to call at 10 o'clock. 9:30, David Kenyon talking NCAA stuff. I'm going to ask him his opinion on black athletes, black recruits, maybe start migrating toward HBCUs. What does he think of that situation? And then 10 o'clock, Frank Schwab talking NFL action with us. Now, that is what we got going today. And guys, you know how we do the first segment of every show. It's called Top of the Morning to you. And these are the hot topics of the night before, or just some sports in general. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, do we have some doozies. Which way do we go? Which way do we go? Which way do we go? I know which way we go. The NBA has sent a memo. Did you get the memo? I didn't get the memo.
I didn't get that.
They said send a memo to their players. They have until June 24th to notify their teams whether they plan to participate in the league's return to play in Orlando or not. Any player who chooses not to play will have the compensation reduced by 1.1% for each game missed, up to a cap of 14 games. Your thoughts, Maya? How many players do you think are going to sit out?
Here's the thing that I find to be very complicated about this situation is that right now we are some people want to term it a second wave of COVID-19. Others are saying, actually, no, it's still the first wave is still kind of coasting through because we never quite plateaued, depending on what state that you're in. Didn't plateau to say that a second wave is there. It doesn't matter how you look at it. What it comes down to is that we're still having an increase now and seeing another round of COVID-19 through a lot of different states. So if I'm a player, here's what I'm thinking about. And I just posed this question to somebody yesterday. I said, here's the problem with this. COVID-19 is not something that we can easily contain. It's not like the flu or the common cold or anything like that. At any point of time, anyone can technically be infected, be asymptomatic, not know it. So mind you, if you're staying in a hotel, the person who cleans your room could have it. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, a person who prepares a meal in a restaurant where you're at could have it and not maliciously know that they have it, but they just have it because maybe they're asymptomatic. So one, we can't possibly rule out 100% that players will not be affected. At that point, because basketball is a contact sport, they're all sharing the same ball. So if one person is infected, then guess what? Chances are somebody else will be infected too. So say you're the Lakers and you have LeBron James and like Anthony Davis go down. What's your chances of even having a salvageable or good NBA season? Your season it's over in regards to playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, it's kind of like, is it really worth coming back to play? I mean, granted, a lot of the players are not necessarily going to die of COVID-19 because those are all different circumstances, but it definitely can affect the outcomes of what they're trying to do with resuming the NBA season, which already is not, it can't be normalized at this point in any way, shape, or form.
What if you get a person who has a pre-existing condition like James Harden? Houston was one of the best teams in the NBA going, before all this happened, and their star James Harden is an asthmatic. So now he's got to weigh those options. Okay, well, listen, I know I want my first ring. I know I want that extra money that I'll be making when I play. I love your cup, Maya.
Notice, I'm coordinating today.
Of course, I did. I peeped you. I was like, oh, she got the black and white, black and white, and black and white. She coordinates. But what does James Harden do? Okay, because if he catches it, he's got a pre-existing condition that it could affect him a lot worse than it could other people, because usually they're top-notch athletes and their bodies will be able to overcome it. But he's asthmatic.
But here's the thing. I get what you're talking about, the pre-existing conditions. But here lies the rub even with that, because I'm in the medical field. We have plenty of people who actually had pre-existing conditions. We had elderly people who all came out of coronavirus just fine. So here's the problem. We're trying to give everybody all this data. And this is what drives me crazy about this. We're trying to appease the public by trying to give them information every step of the way about something, to be honest, we really fully do not understand. Because we started out saying, yes, these groups are high risk. But at the same time, Shawn, we've had people that were perfectly healthy succumb and die of COVID-19. So what does that tell you? So you could still get a perfectly healthy NBA basketball player who's more physically fit than a lot of people obviously walking the street, turn around and contract COVID and die. Or if they have interaction with their family, pass it to, a spouse or children or whatever, and now they get it and they could be compromised. So the issue is, because there is no definitive answer of who could be affected and how they could be affected when they're making their individual choice, that's what they have to decide. Now, mind you, if I'm James Harden, chances are me taking a pay cut right now is not going to hurt. I'm wealthy. And honestly, most people that are at this level right now, they're relatively have a decent contract. You know what I mean? So they're not really hurting. But does this mean we're going to start watching the G League? But then the G League players might be like, no, but they might. People will often sacrifice themselves, honestly, when the opportunity presents itself. Yes. And nothing else is like, here's a chance for me to play. Here's a chance for me to play and for people to see me. And maybe I can, raise my value to a team. But I'm going to tell you something. And Sylvester Joyce said, what? Let me tell you something, Sylvester. Right now, people are so desperate for sports. We will watch some G League players like they're the best thing since sliced bread. Don't lie. You know that we will. He
was talking about if basketball players think like that, then basketball will never be played. No, I understand that. But in a situation,
Think like what?
Like here, I assume he meant with a lot of precaution, with some trepidation, because we were talking about James Harden is when his comment first came up. So I assume that's what he talked about, playing with if we think like that, basketball will never be played. And we're talking about, possibly getting COVID. So
but here's the thing. They're not haggling over money, so to speak.
No, it's not baseball.
They're right. That's a whole nother can of worms. They're haggling literally over health, because remember, it was kind of like with Gobert with the Jazz kind of kicked this off, and people gave him the evil eye, like he was like, the the conduit of bringing COVID-19 to the country, and it was already out there. He just happened to be a victim of it like anybody else is. You know what I mean?
Asked about it. That was a problem. That's where he was asked about it. He's like, "Oh, let me touch everything."
No, that's not what he says. That's not what he says. He said, "No, I'm going to touch everything." That's what he said, Shawn. That's what he said.
And he touched everything. And then he comes down with it and gives the spider
right.
He gives the spider COVID. Like, come on, dude.
So that's the issue is what we cannot. And I know people don't. This is what people struggle with, even with just reopening the country. Everyone's like, well, screw it. Let's just do herd immunity. I said, okay, we could, but some of us will die. Are we okay with that? Well, no, we're probably not okay with that. So the issue with the NBA is it's a high contact sport. So they're all sharing the same instrument, which is the ball. And with that being said, because of that, the risk of spread, not to mention breathing, contact, and sweat. So there's a lot of exchange because of basketball is a very physical sport, just like football is. So, it's not like golf or tennis where you can try to keep people apart. You know what I mean? Even baseball, to a degree, you can attempt to keep people apart. But these are games where there's a lot of contact to it. And no, there is no vaccine at this time. And I'm gonna flat out tell you this as a person who works in the healthcare field. I don't care if they roll out a vaccine for COVID-19 this year. My Akai is not taking it. And the thing is, I have to be vaccinated for the flu every year, which I'm not doing this year because I'm gonna have to wear a mask anyways. So I've opted that I've already decided I'm not taking a flu shot. Anything they have right now for COVID-19 has not had enough trial runs to know how effective it really is. Vaccines just don't roll out in a year. If that was the case, we would have had something for polio and everything else way before we had it. So just to let you know, if you decide to take a vaccine right now, you're the guinea pig at this point. I would never take that risk because you don't know what that might do to you physically. You have no idea. So
no way. I'm pulling that Tracy Morgan. I'm pulling that Tracy Morgan meme. Nope. You know that Tracy Morgan meme that I'm talking about? Nope. Nowhere near. I'm nowhere near coming close to taking a vaccine because I'm not having them give me any, inject. Who knows? Because the truth be told, Maya, let's keep it real. Do you know exactly what's in that vaccine that they're giving me?
Shawn's like right now.
I'm a conspiracy theorist. That's me. I'm a conspiracy theorist.
Shawn is like, we are now in the midst of social, disorganization and discontent, and now he pulls out the Tuskegee experiment.
Tuskegee experiment, exactly.
And for those people who don't know what that is,
Google
the Tuskegee experiment, and you'll be like, oh, what? Yeah,
did that?
It's a lot of things that happen that people don't know about, but. I don't know. Here's the thing. If someone decides to not come back, to be honest, Shawn, I don't hold it against them. I don't. It's a choice about your health. It's a choice about your well-being. And James Harden is a good example because he does fall into that potentially high risk group of people. And I'm gonna tell you something. I've known several people that have COVID that had it. And they were like, it was one of the worst experiences they ever had, especially when it got to the breathing part. There was like, it was overwhelming. Like you felt like you were suffocating. So imagine if you're asthmatic and you got that feeling. I've actually known a couple of people that lost people because of COVID that, were compromised and some weren't. So that's why I'm saying the gamut is so wide on this right now in regards to how people are affected when they contract it. Ask yourself a question. If you can't be for sure that in 14 days, you're going to come out the clear and be healthy, are you willing to risk that? It's just like saying, if you knew that you were concussed, are you willing to keep playing football if they tell you that you are a candidate for CTE? You got to make a choice. I know that's kind of a more of extreme side of it, but if you've been presented with knowledge of risk, when do you decide the risk isn't great? It's not worth what they're asking you to do.
Well, in football, before we move on, it's the size of your contract. If you got a big enough contract and you're going to get it, you'll play. Because very rarely will you see players after they will say, you know what, if I could do it all over again, I would. Very rarely will they say, you know what, I might do something different. Mm-hmm. It's a short-term deal. The lifespan of a football player, and you want to get as much money as you can. That's a different story. Basketball players, on the other hand, their contracts are guaranteed, unlike football. So yeah, I could see you sitting out this, a season or the rest of the season and saying, no, let me make sure that I'm 100% healthy. So, well, listen, the next top of the morning topic, baseball. Rob Manfred, commissioner, says he is not confident baseball will be played in 2020. Just after a week ago, he's saying he was almost sure. He was almost 100% sure that there'd be baseball. Now he's not confident. You know what? They were going back and forth with their proposals, and finally the Players Association, the union, said, you know what? We reject it. Just let us know when and where. and we'll play from there. So, your thoughts on whether or not we have baseball in 2020? We're already in June. We're past June 15th, Maya. Halfway through June.
Well, it's interesting because obviously baseball is a long season, but that's also putting into consideration October is playoffs, not regular season baseball. At this point, there has to be a threshold where it'd be such a modification of the season trying to get to create who's going to be in the playoffs. It wouldn't be worth the time. I'll be honest. I don't have good faith in this. And I'm going to say this because when he said that last week, I was like, no, I don't buy that, because the players really have dug their heels in on how they feel about this and what they're not willing to sacrifice. So because to me, I feel like they are on opposite ends on the spectrum of what they feel, what the players want versus what MLB wants to happen. And to me, I see nobody really trying to meet in the middle. And who knows at this point what the middle looks like. And maybe that question needs to be formed from the mediator. Like, excuse me, what exactly would the middle look like for everybody right here? And the thing is, if you can't get exactly this, what part of this can you negotiate with? And the thing is, it seems like they're at this point refusing. And you know what? It's all said and done. If they choose not to have a baseball season, it'll all just come down to people saying, well, it was because of COVID-19. But ultimately, that's not the only reason there wasn't baseball if it doesn't happen.
No, I think it'll be different this time, Maya, because I think they know the arguments. And here's my issue falls squarely, or the majority of it falls squarely on the shoulders of the owners. All right, you just got a $1 billion with a B dollar contract with Turner, okay, for the playoffs. So this is money that you now have. Mm-hmm. So in 2021, you're going to have the collective bargaining agreement come up again. Okay, so if I'm the owners, I take a hit on this one. I take a hit. I got money. We just got $1 billion from Turner. Okay, I can make sure I pay people. Say, okay, we'll play 72 games. We'll get you your money. We'll pay you your prorated rate. But come 2021, we have the collective bargaining agreement. Now I'm going to need you to give at that particular point. I'm giving now because now that's a negotiating tool. This season is a wash. It's lost. Okay, so what do you want to do? Do you want to think big picture? If I'm thinking big picture, I said, okay, you know what? I'll lose. I'll take a loss now, a setback now, in order to gain it in the future. Because right now the owners are just looking greedy. That's all it is. They're looking greedy. They get it from a business perspective, but you also have a human perspective, and that's the fans who are actually paying you and the money you're losing out. And I'll tell you what, if this happens again, it's going to be worse than '94 when they cancel the World Series. A lot of people might not come back to baseball if this happens.
Oh, I'll probably come back because I'm kind of.
Me too, because
I'm actually fully invested at this point. So I'm like, come on. I hear what you say, and I agree. If they had the 2020 as hindsight, which everyone is learning now, they should look at this moment like, come next year, this could be major leverage for us when we talk about that CBA. I absolutely agree with you on this. But on the flip side, if I'm the players, I'm rolling out Hall & Oates, and I'm like, I can't go for that. No way, no can do. I'm going to tell you why. Because their next CBA has some really important sticking points that I think that they can't sacrifice. So even if they put that, I'm going to expect some special considerations next year when we talk about the CBA. If I'm a player, I'm like saying, we're not playing baseball then, because there's too many things in this next CBA that really has to be truly addressed that is advantageous for players, especially young players and the minors and things like that, that trust me, the owners are going to retain where they are, and a change needs to happen. So even with that leverage, it sounds good from the ownership standpoint, but clearly if I'm the players, I'm like, you can keep that. I'll just sit at home and just chill out. Mind you, as a fan, I absolutely hate this because baseball is my favorite sport. And I was so excited about this season. I'm disappointed, but I'm always so willing to step back and realize, as much as this is a sport, this is a business. And if they can't meet in the middle, so be it. There will be fallout. And the thing about it is, I don't think it's going to be fallout looking at the players as much as it's going to be specifically about the teams, because that $1 billion contract with Turner is a huge impact on your bottom line, which means legitimately you really just didn't suffer that much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can take some of that $1 billion for this season and spread the wealth out so that baseball can happen, so that you can start generating revenue. Because the thing is, you had a lot of teams that really were on the cusp this year to be doing some good stuff.
Ours in particular, but
yes.
I agree with you in that, and I know they didn't get the entire $1 billion this year, but I'm saying you got a piece of it, and that
exactly.
needs to go toward the players. That needs to go toward some of the stadium workers, the people that you have working. You know what I mean, at the facilities. You got to spread that around. They're struggling. You're a billionaire. You own the team. You're not struggling. Okay, you're not struggling. Pass it down to the people because it creates goodwill. And I'm telling you, when you do good by people, people will do good by you. People will actually, they may back off some of their stances if they see that you showing good. If you have a show of good faith like this time, I think they would. But you know what? Owners seem to be too greedy right now, and you know what? It's going to be worse than '94. And I don't know if we're going to have a Sosa McGuire home run derby in a couple of years if they end up not having a baseball season, because that's really going to affect the public perception of baseball, millionaires versus billionaires. And you know what? A lot of us can't relate to that.
No, a lot of it. I mean, I clearly do understand the business of this, so I'm not remiss from it. I totally get why we are where we are.
Yep.
Obviously, if we're not dealing with COVID 19 right now, then this is not an issue. You know what I'm saying? We're business as usual. We're doing our thing. But because COVID has obviously impacted a lot of people, and then the absolutely crazy thing about it will literally be, well, then what happens if the game starts and then players start dropping off because of COVID? Now what are we doing? I mean, there's still so many question marks of how the season could still rightfully still be affected by this. So it's just a matter of, get past this hump. As it stands, what was thought that perhaps baseball would be vying with the likes of the NBA and even NFL and hockey right now for TV time, there's still a lot of stalemates going on around the league, not just with MLB. So what's interesting is the asterisk by this will be, even though people will not like what's going on, COVID-19 really put a lot of things into a different perspective, not just with baseball. This is if I'm an owner, this is how I'm going to spend this. Not just with us, but look around the leagues, how everybody really had to make adjustments and make it make sense for everybody. So just like we obviously want baseball to start, it's a business, and there were things that we had to consider. And unfortunately, we don't have the final decision to play or not to play. It has to be a mutual agreement between us and the players, and we couldn't seem to bridge the gap about what we thought was appropriate. And unfortunately, baseball suffered. We apologize for that, but unfortunately, that's the business side. Fans aren't going to like it, but those of us who are truly diehard baseball people, we are going to come back. And I'm going to say, with the level of talent and so many of the young names that are out there right now, Shawn, I think they'll be able to come back slowly, but they're going to have to lean really heavily on the players to really attract people back. You know what I mean? So like you're talking about, another Sosa McGuire situation, not that specifically that way, might be something that might be on the table.
She's a sports chica. I'm the Superback. We got to take a break. On the other side of the break, we're going to switch gears. Talk to David Kenyon from Bleacher Report. We are going to get into a whole bunch of scandals, and Maya's going to be happy because finally it's not about Iowa. We're talking about Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy, and talking about the possibility of top recruits shunning the Big Five and going to HBCU. So David Kenyon from Bleacher Report coming up next. Don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago.
Quicken Loans presents the Sports Flash, driven by Jeep on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone. Cup star Jason Kipnis on ESPN says that what's going on with baseball right now is definitely bad for optics.
You're mad at the sport of baseball, but someone on an afternoon game of 80-degree weather invites you to the ballpark, you're going to turn it down. That's still a great day, still a great tradition, still an amazing day to share with a father and son, stuff like that. There's so many beautiful things about the game of baseball that I got to believe it's got some staying power to make it through this stuff, but there's no denying that right now it's just a bad look.
Longtime Giants pitcher Mike McCormick, who won the Cy Young Award in 1967, has passed away at the age of 81. The NFL's announced that the 2021 Pro Bowl will be played at the new Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, just a week before the Super Bowl in Tampa. The game on the books for Sunday, January 31st. No monthly payments for 90 days, 0% APR for 84 months. Details at Jeep.com. The Sports Flash is driven by Jeep. Truck Sanders, 1330, 95.9 The Zone.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 833-8ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee. Receive this discount rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago. Man, it is hump day. Maya, it's going to be a beautiful day in the Chi today, isn't it? I'm fired up.
You know, to me, even when it's rain, the weather has still been, it's been nice. So I've enjoyed, I'm all about, you can give me a low 80-degree day any day, and that works for me. I don't have to be sitting like in the 90s. I only want to be that hot when I'm on vacation. When I'm at home, I don't want to be that hot. I really don't.
We're going to be, and you're further away from the lakes, just like I am now, so it's going to be a little warmer. We're about a high about 88 degrees today, so it's going to be. I might go out in the back and get some color. Even I don't want the farmer tan. I don't want the neckline tan. I'm going to go out and kind of even this all out, just because I'm local. It's all right.
Oh, okay. Hey, it's funny. I have this great commitment. Like, you won't be able to see it because of the camera, but I said, I had an Apple Watch like last year, and I would wear it, but not like, I'm like, I want a new watch, but that has like the phone service and everything where you didn't have to bring your phone. I'm like, but I had to commit to wearing the watch more, so I did it. So I bought a new watch, and I've worn it so much that I was like, oh wow, I got the line. I was like, man, I didn't think I was that light. Really?
Isn't that funny?
Actually, you can kind of see it a little bit.
You can see it big time, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, okay. I look like Trump with his little, his
sunglasses.
No, I think he tan. I think he sits in a tanning bed because it's got that kind of like little thing around his eyes. I was like, oh, I got. So when people say, oh, black people tan, you want proof? It's right here. It's like, oh, yes, I know, right? We're beacons for the damn sun. So yeah, I'm excited. Good weather, good bike riding weather. I've been bike riding again too. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
I'm waiting for my boy Joel to call me. He comes out this way and rides through the trails over here. Man, you know what? Maybe you and I go biking because we can meet in the midway somewhere. There
you go. I'm all for it. I just bought a bike rack and everything. I'm ready to go.
And I just shoved mine in the back of the caddy all crazy.
I got tired of that. I mean, because I'm one of them goofy people who had my bike for like 15 years. And I'm afraid to take the front wheel off. Like I can, because I'm afraid I'll put it back on wrong and I'll have an accident while I'm riding. Yeah, because I am challenged that way with a lot of things. So I won't take the wheel off.
You're freaking out of control. That's hilarious. Let's get to our first guest. And I'm excited to talk to this guy. He's a national college football writer for Bleacher Report. You can find him on Twitter at Kenyon19_BR. Guys, just welcome back to Shawn and Maya, David Kenyon. David, what's up, buddy? How are you? Thanks for your time.
I'm doing really well. I'm glad to be back. Can you guys hear me okay?
I can.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you well. You shaved your head. You got a beard.
I was just about to say, David, is this the quarantine look? I'm used to this little clean-shaven, young face, man. All of a sudden, the beard pops on, and the hair is shorter. Oh, my goodness. I like it, though. I like it.
Thank
you. I see you.
It has this very Nordic kind of Viking rough look about it, but I like it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I can tell you what, chicks dig that look.
My wife was a little hesitant at first, but
she knows chicks dig that look.
Okay, I prove that. Okay, no, it looks good on you. Everyone can't do a beard and it looks good, but no, you grow a good beard. I give you that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dude, good stuff, brother. Good stuff. Hey, so we have a lot to talk about. We just got over the situation with Iowa. Maya's an Iowa grad, so she doesn't want to stay in this. She's not a big fan of that regime over there to begin with.
Yeah, I don't like Kurt Ferentz, and I was really hoping this domino effect would get rid of him as well, because we had a player, one of Shawn's former players on the show, who directly spoke to the fact that Ferentz is low key with what he does. He's one of those microaggression people, but he does it in a very subtle way. But he didn't feel that the hammer would fall enough to get rid of him, so. We're getting rid of Doyle to me was just collateral damage to save face is how I feel about it.
With a $1.1 million parting gift. Thank you for playing, sir.
Yeah,
and go find another job. But now we have the situation in Oklahoma State where Mike Gundy decides to wear an OAN shirt. That is a One America network, and that's a pretty conservative network which backed Trump. So one of his star running back was really pissed off about it and said he wasn't going to. Participate in any more activities with Oklahoma State, and all of a sudden Mike Gundy just again, this is while he was fishing. So it was on social media. It wasn't at an official Oklahoma State event or anything, but it was on social media. And the running back was upset. And then he did his beautiful, like they're all doing, a beautiful Deion Sanders movie, backpedal like a son of a gun. What are you hearing about the fallout over there at Oklahoma State?
Well, I think the biggest thing is they sure didn't waste a lot of time getting Gundy and Hubbard together. No question about that. And then even after that, when they were like, oh, so Hubbard apologizes, but Gundy doesn't actually do anything. So then, again, they got Gundy on the hook there and then had him with the apology yesterday. And, hey, look, just from a personal perspective, I don't much care about the apology. Because it's all about the action, right? And so at any place, whether it was Iowa or Oklahoma State or another place, honestly, it seems like at this point it's bound to come up and, hey, good. But it's all about what happens next. The apology is good and necessary, but whether it's authentic, genuine, I don't really care because we'll find out really soon.
What's interesting about this situation, and I'm just kind of playing the devil's advocate on this, by no means do I believe in trying to address the issues of implicit bias and all these different things we're dealing with in our country. By no means do I think a person's opinion should have to be silenced. So for me, granted, I thought it was really dumb that he wore the shirt, but I also don't expect for people just to absolutely change their political views to align with other people. It's about respecting and accepting other people. And I think right now in the beginning of where we are in this movement, everybody is sensitive about everything. We're never all going to be on the same page about something. So the fact that he had no wherewithal to know it wasn't appropriate or that there could be pushback from it, that kind of surprises me. But here's what I'm wondering about the culture right now in college football. I don't think this is new. I think this probably exists in every program, everywhere, to tell you the truth, just about. So the question is, how many of them are just trying to be proactive and, like, say, have their own town hall meeting and say, we've got things we need to address? Because now these things have been brought to light. We feel perhaps that we could be equally as guilty, didn't think it was, because a lot of times people were doing things they thought was okay, let's be honest, because nobody was checking them, but also they were in a position of power to do it. I don't see enough schools stepping forward and saying, and taking the lead and just saying, let's own this and get ahead of it before it rolls back on us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do wonder, and it's not an excuse, I do wonder how much of it is waiting to be personally there, as the players come back to campus. I don't know. So maybe it's something that a lot of these coaches feel, I would like to do this in person, not over, a setting that we're doing right now where we're speaking a lot electronically. There is a little bit that's still lost over this, just between the three of us, as opposed to having everybody in person. So I'm curious to see if exactly what you're saying happens as these players are back on campus.
Guys, we're joined by David Kenyon, the national college football writer for Bleacher Report, talking a little NCAA football right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. This is a situation. Maya said we're kind of waiting for the next one, I guess. Who's going to be the next, who's going to do something or say something stupid, especially in these very sensitive times. So I'm wondering who's going to be next. One of the questions I have for you is what are they? Have you been hearing? Have you heard anything different in how the testing process for COVID-19 is going to be? Because now some students or some colleges are having their campuses open, so they're having voluntary workouts. How's that going to go? And is everything going to be ready to go when it's time to start the college football season?
I don't have anything to add to the current reports. I just know that everybody's taking it seriously. Just from my understanding, at least, they're taking it seriously. They're trying to be diligent with this. It's just going to be so tough over these next few weeks because you're having everybody get back, and you want to make sure you're doing everything correctly. And you also are trying to work forward to, I think it's the July 15th or so date that you can really start ramping things up 6 weeks before the first games. And so you just wonder, as you hear about, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these players are testing positive, how is this going to affect, in a month from now when you're supposed to be starting to get into real big fall camp activities? If somebody tests positive, then what are you going to do? Are you just isolating that one person? Or, if you had a big close contact drill, and do you have to take the whole like position unit out? I don't know.
And you know what's crazy is another thing is I was thinking about the other day, or yesterday, as a matter of fact. You know, what if someone who is a star, what if a Trevor Lawrence has to come down, comes down with it, and all of a sudden that unbelievably affects the way Clemson performs, and how is that going to affect the landscape of college football if one of the team stars, a Heisman Trophy candidate, a Player of the Year candidate, gets infected and he's out for 2 weeks. Oh, and it just happened to be rivalry week this week that it's caught, or even the first couple of games and they lose one or two. And now we all know how important standings are and seedings. And all of a sudden now they lose to a 1AA school or a lower 1A school, and now you're like, oh boy, well they've fallen in the ranks because of one or two key players getting hurt or getting COVID.
Yeah, I mean, let's take that to an extreme and say, Trevor Lawrence happens and there's a 2-week period and Clemson loses those games. Just play the hypothetical. But then they go 10-0. And then they win the ACC championship and they do it in dominant fashion. So you got an 11-2 Clemson without Lawrence for the 2 games. You're like, well, they were awesome otherwise. So like, how do you measure that? And so obviously we hope none of that even comes close to happening, but it is possible, right?
Yeah.
No, very possible. I mean, here's the thing. Everything about COVID-19 is unpredictable. It really is. There is no necessary way that you can contain this. It's already known that you can't contain it. We know the level of contagion is there. And we're talking about a sport that has a lot of physical contact. There's obviously everything from shared space in regards to tackling, which means obviously, exchanging what we call like that area where droplets can be exchanged. It's not necessarily passed on through sweat, but still the bottom line is that this is a heavy contact sport. And what does COVID-19 like? Contact, proximity. So within itself, to me, I think it should be expected that some team along the way is going to be affected, which is going to affect outcomes, which means everybody's going to probably put an asterisk on the season and just flat out say, well, Clemson didn't use that. Say it happened with Trevor Lawrence. It didn't happen because they lost this lineman or this player because of COVID-19. I'm going to say kudos to the teams that managed to have some type of depth at this point to prepare for this, because I think that's that next level, is making sure that your next man up legitimately is ready to go, because you don't know when that person might be called upon just because of this situation.
Yeah, I agree. It's just one of those things where everybody's dealing with the same situation. So you really don't want to get in the habit of making exceptions for a lot of things. And look, I certainly would be tempted, in the back of my mind, thinking they're like, but they were awesome when he was healthy. But it's the same thing with any other season. A guy tears his ACL in game 11. Well, you got to factor that in, So again, extreme hypotheticals. Hope we never get there. But very much a consideration we'll have moving forward.
So this is going to be a very good time for the Alabamas and the Clemsons, because those are the teams that are, 3 or 4 deep with 4- and 5-star recruits. If you look at Alabama, wasn't it Kyler Murray and then Tua? And I mean, you just think of all the quarterbacks that they had, and one right after the other. One got hurt or one didn't play well. Okay, well, you're not playing well. We'll put this guy in. He plays well. You're good. So those blue blood teams, those are the ones who are really going to be in a good position if the situation manifests itself. That where it attacks 1 or 2 of the star players, because they're deep at people like that are at every position. So speaking of that and the depth of it, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about as well was there's a movement now. There's a new movement that's starting to gain some traction, and that's where a lot of people recruits are strongly considering not going to one of the big 5, the Power 5 conference schools, but actually going back to historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs. Your thought on that? Is that going to you think that will gain a lot of traction, and will we start to see a lot of top basketball recruits and top football recruits go back to HBCUs?
I really am hesitant to get really behind the thought, because there's such a financial difference that is so evident in, like, the weight room, for example. There are high schools with nicer weight rooms. And I mean, let's be serious about that. That's an important part of the path to the pros. And as much as it would be awesome, I think the first step before you see top recruits going there. And if they do, awesome. I mean, by all means, that is a wonderful thing that it would inject more life into those athletic programs at a desperately needed time. But I think the first step, there was a report, I think, from Jeff Goodman of Stadium that an ACC coach had proposed playing, I think it was a MEAC schools over a weekend over Martin Luther King Jr. Day, around that time. And I think that's a good first step. And maybe what you do is you go play on the road. You take the Power 5 team and you take them to the school, or, the Big 12 can play SWAC teams, anything like that, where you're starting to inject money into those programs that they really do need it. Or you pay for everything to have them come. Something like that.
It's interesting because part of what I've heard in the rumblings with people who have a vested interest in this, because there's a lot of former athletes that went pro that came from, HBCUs that are now saying, hey, guess what, guys? This is viable. I did good there. There is now a look that a lot of former athletes as well as celebrities are willing to make that financial investment and donate to getting those schools, those weight rooms, those upgrades, and those facilities, because they're like, if this is the thing that's going to keep you from being able to compete, well, me giving $2.5 million for this to be, the Dr. Dre, which who did he give money to? Was it USC? For Beyonce and Jay-Z to throw $5 or $6 million or $2 million at two different HBCU programs, they're now saying, if this is what's going to bring players to us because they need the facilities, now they're saying, let's pull our money and let's do this. So what I'm now hearing is, if that's the only thing that's the barrier, then we're prepared to put the money forward so that barrier can be removed, and they're not waiting for others to help them with this. This is where we can be an immediate impact in this area. So to me, what's interesting is, and a lot of young minds, young players are so influenced by a lot of, former athletes and celebrities. They love, so, if you get someone like Jay-Z, who has that, his own kind of special interest, obviously, in his, agent, business. Is it CCA? I want to say he's affiliated with. Is it CCA? I think. Don't be surprised if you get the likes of them saying, look, you need to do this because it's important, not just for your pro career. We can make that's going to happen because you're talented. But this is a moment where it's about you doing something for your people. I don't think everyone's going to go, but I think you're going to get enough, at least within this year. You're going to see a trend. It's not going to spike, I think, necessarily very high immediately. But once the resources are there and all of a sudden you get kind of more, just people paying attention to those programs. Because here's what's interesting. HBCUs around the country every year host what's called classics. The biggest one is the Bayou Classic. Chicago, we do one, but it doesn't have the same, the same kind of traction as the Bayou Classic, where two historically Black schools football programs play each other. They do one in Indianapolis, and you get tons of individuals that migrate because they're alumni to these games to watch. This will just take that to another level, because it's always been about a lack of resources that have pulled Black players away from those schools in the first place once traditional schools were integrated and they were allowed to bring them in. So I think it's a slow and steady, David. I don't think it's going to happen immediately, because you're right. The need for the resource does need to be there, but it looks like there's a bunch of people right now willing to put the resources where they're needed.
That would be great. Like I said, that would be awesome if they can get that investment. Man, that would be so cool to see a different sort of path regenerated, because like you said, you have seen many athletes go through that path, and right now it's just not viable. But if the resources are there, and Mikey Williams obviously is the big name at this point, a couple of years away, top basketball recruit, and if that investment happens now, that it's a legitimate option. And it's not all it takes is one, but it's certainly not that far. You get 1, 2, 3, and then you're really onto some momentum there. So I'm very curious to see how this happens. And like you're saying, with the resources that may be invested here, just because people are starting to understand, like, okay, if that's the barrier, let's go.
Guys, we're joined by David Kenyon, the National College Football and basketball writer for Bleacher Report, talking a little NCAA right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. I think basketball would be a lot easier because, these players are in contact with each other on a consistent basis. You're on the AAU circuit, so you see each other all through the country and things like that. And, you got each other's cell numbers. And you're a lot closer than football because you don't actually play football in the off season, when you can play basketball AAU. And all it takes is say, hey, what are you doing? Why don't us three just go to this school just for the hell of it? Put them on the map or something. And it literally it'll take 2 or 3, of guys coming together, because you'll have the other decent players on the team.
Mm-hmm.
But basketball is a much big, can be impacted much more quickly. And I think if that's the case, how soon do you think, if this starts to happen, not even full blown, but just on a consistent basis, how soon before you think they could start getting TV deals and real types of money with those TV deals?
I don't have a good answer for that, but it's an excellent question.
Mm-hmm.
I think you just have to see the first part. You get those 2 or 3 kids and you go
Mm-hmm.
from there. And I had something and I was so excited to say it. And you asked such a great question.
And it's interesting because I think this is, to me, it's like, it's a slow process. It's like, okay, now there's a shift back to this, which is good. Just like many of the other networks have, like the SEC, the Big Ten network, there may have to be more of a kind of a combined maybe effort with HBCU, like an HBCU network. So it's not necessarily the SWAC or the MEAC necessarily, like they share a network to be able to kind of just share their content.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the smart road, opposed to trying to emulate exactly what you see. But the first step is just getting your ESPN2 to pick up more games, to kind of showcase them, going that route first. I mean, obviously you still have BET, and I want to say, is it Brian Scott just bought a whole bunch of networks? So it's about partnerships, little by little, just getting other networks to carry, or, you might get your big 5 just getting their feelings and feeling, like they want to be charitable and be like, well, we're going to partner up with a couple HBCUs. God forbid I give somebody an idea. And we're going to, even though they're not in our, this is funny. You know how US cities, this sounds so bad. You know how US cities will partner with a European country and it's like their sister city. Do they do that anywhere else besides in Illinois?
I think Michigan I've seen.
So
well.
It's weird, like certain cities in Illinois will have a sister city like in Europe. I don't know why that is. So you may get some of the Big 5 conferences that may say, well, we're going to have a relationship with Howard or Hampton, and on the Big 10 network, we're going to show some of their games to kind of bring it to, you know what I'm saying? Not say it's impossible.
It gives them content. Definitely gives them content.
It gives them content. I'm always giving people ideas all the time, but it's a good way. It's a good way to bridge a gap in a way.
I like what you're going at there. CBS Sports Network is one that comes to mind, generally open for content, something like that. And maybe what they do is they have some sort of, 3-4 conference thing. And they're like, hey, we're going to take 50-year games throughout the whole conferences. And that's what we're going to do for your televising this year. I think that's,
yes.
Maybe that's a possible one, because it gives you flexibility of who's good.
I'm gonna build on what you just said, David. So focus on major cities where you have a large population of African Americans, like Chicago, Atlanta, DC, Texas. I know that Comcast Sportsnet will, for some reason, they show games from, I think it's UNI and Iowa, and I'm always like, why is that here? My thing is, you have a large population of Black graduates from HBCUs in Chicago. Those are games that you should be playing to fill your content. And now you can draw people in to kind of, pay attention. So if you're those regional networks and you have a large population of those grads, just do your research. This could be a great opportunity for you to air those games for them to watch.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. Because obviously the major market in anything is going to be the most important thing, but you already have that base there. And so maybe it is time for a non-regional, like to those schools network to consider, hey, is this something that would be well received in our area?
Mm-hmm.
Last question before I let you go, David. I was thinking about this the other day as well. How beneficial, how smart would it be to, now that college athletes can get paid for their likeness, how much of a marketing tool can that be for HBCUs and other smaller schools, saying, hey, listen, you're the top player in such and such. If you come here, we have a car dealership who you can advertise, who you can do commercials for. We have a grocery chain. We have this, we have that. So, all of a sudden you have different streams of income. You have streams of income for the college kid. How soon do you think that's going to happen? Because it's going to happen.
Oh, the moment that's allowed, it's going to happen. There's no question. I will say there's probably a little bit of a difference. It won't be the school that is actively doing that, because then I think you're going to have a little bit of the overlap of ruining our current model. So I don't think the school will necessarily be, like so overt about it. I believe the talk is that these players would be able to have an agent who helps facilitate these things, which, only makes sense. So I would hope that is more what happens. And certainly there will be people involved with the school who tell the agent, this or that thing.
This Curtis might be looking to sponsor your athlete. He might be. Wink, wink.
Right. Well, you do know that that's about to happen. I mean, absolutely. There's no way they're not going to use this opera, because that becomes now a whole new marketing tool. Well, hey, if you get so-and-so to come here, we probably already got like 3, 4, 5, 6 people that are already interested in sponsorship with this person. So now it becomes the advertising wars for the NCAA. I'm just wondering how much of a cut are they going to try to get out of it? Or they're like, look, we just need a player, especially with basketball. That's really a one and done. If you think about it, if you're that premier player coming in from high school, and this actually might be the thing that might make players decide to stay longer in college now that they can, generate that revenue from their likeness. So if they're able to get sponsorship dollars, that changes. Look, if I got some good money rolling in and I'm a freshman, I might this might be good for 2 years. You know what I'm saying? It might encourage them to stay longer, especially if their path, like let's say the NBA, once that's gone. But if I'm going to be in the G League for 2 years, I'm not going to probably make G League money like I would make money from my likeness. So that's another leverage tool that people probably didn't think about when the NCAA finally decided, oh, well, we're going to make that go away. Of course they did, because they needed another tool to be able to change of how they were attractive to players once they no longer could hold them really hostage for a season or two.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And you hit on what I was thinking about earlier, where basketball is probably the best path for this, just because, even in the probably relatively near future too, the one and done might go away. So you might spend 1 year and then you're gone to the NBA anyway, and you took it on yourself. Maybe that was your mission as a Black athlete, and you were like, I want to do this. This is important to me. And if you have the NIL rights at that point, you might make $100,000 at the time. And then you go chase your NBA dream. Or like you said, if that money is there in a big way, maybe they do spend 2 years there. And maybe they spend that year in recruiting the next one, so that there's a whole lot of benefits there. That the timing of all this is so perfect, right? You've got the movement, you've got the NIL rights, that are progressing. Obviously, that's not going to be at least for another year at the very earliest. But yeah, it's all coming together in a really cool way, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Guys, that's David Kenyon from Bleacher Report. Hey, we appreciate your time. Do us a favor, let everyone know where they can find you online.
You can find all my work on Bleacher Report. You can go on there, search my name, or just throw it in Google. Everybody likes to do that. And then you can find me on Twitter at Kenyon19_BR.
Wonderful. Hey, great stuff, buddy. Great stuff. We appreciate your time. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Good to be back.
Yeah.
Guys. Hey, guys, that was David Kenyon from Bleacher Report talking some big time NCAA issues. And, man, there's a lot. Where was this when I was in college? Because, man, I would have, tried to get some name and imaging licensing, some dollars.
But
don't worry about money. Don't worry about money this year, Miss Month Mom.
But opportunity is abound, because what this does, especially for like right now, Zion Williams is in hot water because of what's now being looked at is him taking obviously perks. The thing that blows my mind about this, and this is the thing about adults that just rubs me the wrong way. It was going to be obvious if your ass was broke and living at a certain level before your son went to college. You just don't get upgraded all of a sudden with the same job, rolling like in 60, 40 to 50, $60,000 car. Now you're living like in a $350,000, $400,000 house. If you think people aren't going to notice that, shame on you. So again, it's that greed of adults that can't just seem to get their shit together that drives me crazy. Now he's being scrutinized for it, but you know what the fallout's going to come for Duke, because they were the dumbasses that let him actually dude, you don't look. If you would do the research you should do, you should know how to deal with certain people. The book is called The Art of War. Learn your shit. But they didn't. So I was like, shame on them for allowing that to happen, because they should have known that was going to be a reflection of them and not of that family who was looking, look, my son is like, you want him? This is what it's going to cost. Bottom line. and they were willing to pay it. So now there's going to be fallout for them, whether they like it or not. Zion has gone on. He's pro now. What are you going to do? All the fallout falls back on Duke. So I'm like, shame on them for being dumb and not covering their tracks in a way that you don't give people money like that. You should know how people act when they don't be having money. I'm not trying to be ignorant. I'm just being honest. The first thing people do when they win the lottery is go buy a bunch of stuff that they have never had. And you now know, where'd you get that from? Oh, you won the lottery. Oh my God. That's what people do. I was like, so I don't understand.
Dumb people do, because I'll tell you what, I know what I do.
Well, I know. Well,
like poof, I'm gone. I'll be Kaiser Soze, just like that.
Soul Kaiser Soze. Soul Kaiser Soze, folks. But it's interesting. So
well, listen, we got to take a break because we're a little over. We got one more guest on the other side of the break. We got to take a break. We'll talk about this after we talk with Frank Schwab. So don't go anywhere, folks. We got Frank Schwab talking NFL action. Keep it locked right here, Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago.
Quicken Loans presents the Sports Flash, driven by Jeep on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone. Cup star Jason Kipnis on ESPN says that what's going on with baseball right now is definitely bad for optics.
You're mad at the sport of baseball, but someone on an afternoon game of 80-degree weather invites you to the ballpark, you're going to turn it down. That's still a great day, still a great tradition, still an amazing day to share with a father and son and stuff like that. There's so many beautiful things about the game of baseball that I got to believe it's got some staying power to make it through this stuff, but there's no denying that right now it's just a bad look.
Longtime Giants pitcher Mike McCormick, who won the Cy Young Award in 1967, has passed away at the age of 81. The NFL's announced that the 2021 Pro Bowl will be played at the new Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, just a week before the Super Bowl in Tampa. The game on the books for Sunday, January 31st. No monthly payments for 90 days, 0% APR for 84 months. Details at Jeep.com. The Sports Flash is driven by Jeep. Chuck Sanders, 1330, 95.9 The Zone.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discount rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 33.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago on this Hump Day edition. It's all downhill after this. I'm excited. You know what? I'm thinking about. I might go to the drive-in. And we talked about this the other last week.
You still trying to get to the drive-in, Shawn?
Driving tomorrow. I'm trying. Big Trouble in Little China. It's a classic. I was driving by PC Geek Stadium yesterday, and I was like, oh.
You know what? I would need.
I know you want a new movie or a
no.
classics.
You got to give me something that really pulls me in. So I'm trying to think like what I would go see. I don't know because I've seen it. No. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I don't.
What's the John Travolta one was? I can't think of it now.
So, I'm sorry, you're not dragging to a drive-in for Big Trouble in Little China.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you. Here comes the other voice of reason. Like I just need. So that's why you haven't made it because there's not something that's pulling you in to want to go.
Yeah.
So once they put that, I'm trying to think like, I don't know. Now, here's what's funny. If they were to put like, but they won't do this because it's fear. If they was to put like Friday out there.
That'd be, oh my God, that place would be
I would get a bunch of my friends and be like, guys, let's go watch Friday at the drive-in. And they could do a back-to-back like Friday, next Friday. And I'd probably, as your friends, I'd be like, let's go. Okay, this is cool. I would do that because that would be kind of a hanging out with my friends, nostalgic, a movie we all liked. You could probably even maybe do Boys in the Hood. I might go for that. You know what I mean? So yeah. It's stuff. I don't know. There's movies like that maybe that would maybe pull me in. I think Friday would pull a lot of people in. To be honest,
Friday would. Craig, Dan, Craig.
You got knocked up. Still one of my favorite movies right to this day.
It is. Well, listen, our next guest is a guy who's he's in the know. He's one of the guys you go to when you're trying to find NFL action. He's a good friend of the program. He's the NFL writer for Yahoo Sports. You can find him on Twitter at Yahoo Schwab. Guys, let's welcome back to Shawn and Maya, Frank Schwab. Frank, what's up, buddy? How are you?
We're having a little trouble getting Frank on right now.
Yeah, Frank's not here. I was going to say Frank's not here right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. 1 second.
Frank. Okay, Frank needs the grand entrance, because it's Frank Schwab. So
Mr. Schwaber.
Yeah. I love it. So he'll be here in a second. But it's funny. Bernard Mulsayer said he would go see Christine. Okay.
What? Come on, Bernard.
He's trying to be funny about it. That's interesting. What movie would you go see at the drive-in? Because it's like for me, if it's not a new release, it's like it's got to be something that's going to really pull me back. And it's funny because I am a Stephen King person. I really am.
Give me a classic 80s or 90s movie, man. How about this? You put the Warriors up there. People would go see the Warriors.
That's your thing. I'm not going to see Christine because I'm in a parking lot full of cars. This don't seem like a good idea.
No.
Because remember the thing about drive-ins, the experience was when you would be leaving, you'd be like looking around, especially if it was a horror film. You'd be looking around like, Like remember things like Friday the 13th.
I would never. No.
You never saw that. I saw that at the drive-in, and it was like.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't see that as a kid. I saw it as an adult. I couldn't because I was too scared.
Really?
Yeah, I hate scary movies. I get violent in scary movies. I told you I got kicked out of a Halloween patch walk because I punched one of the people. Yeah. So we're walking behind a crew of people, and they would jump out and scare the group of people in front of us. So when they jump out and scared us, I'm like, haha, I saw you. You didn't scare me. And so we're walking, and there's two figures. I'm like, okay, they're going to jump out and scare this group in front of us. And they didn't. I'm like, okay, well, maybe he jumped out and scared me. And I just I haul off and hit him right in the face. And the dude's like, what are you doing, man? I'm like, you scared the hell out of me. He goes, that's what I'm supposed to do. And they called security. They kicked me out. I was like, hey, I'm from the South Side, dude. Don't jump at him, dude. I'm sorry. I just...
It's a Halloween patch. It's supposed to be scary. Oh my God, Shawn. No, I'm not faint at heart with scary movies at all. The only movie that ever really kind of sat with me that I've always, even if I watch it right now sitting at home, for some reason it just gets under my skin a little bit, is The Exorcist.
I saw it once. A part of it as a kid, and I was done. I didn't even see the whole thing.
And I think it's because I read the book, and the book is more detailed. The story about The Exorcist is actually based on a true story. You can take it how you want. It didn't happen in DC, Georgetown, where they have it. And it was not a girl, it was a boy. And it actually happened in St. Louis. Yes. The Nori of the original, the story is based on. When you read books, the books always give you far more details to freak you out. You know what I mean? But for some reason, The Exorcist it gets under my skin. I'm like, because you be sitting in bed, like looking at the ceiling when it's over. Like, so is this?
You can't do that. I get
is this possible? Is like something gonna happen, and then the cat jumps on the bed. You're like, dude, don't be scaring me like that. Why you playing?
I can't watch. I don't watch. Even to this day, I'm not a big. The only way I'll go watch a scary movie, like I can and will. All right, but once that music, because there's usually music that will lead up to.
Okay, wait. I did just figure out what you could put the drive-in, and I would go see it, and I'd like you to do it in the trilogy if you could. And don't laugh when I say this. John Wick. I love John Wick.
Yeah, I saw it, and I didn't get into it big time. You mentioned you're a big John Wick fan.
I would go see John Wick at the drive-in. That's something I would actually go do, and you could give it to me in threes.
I will watch all three. I'll sit there and watch them all.
I'm not sure about three where I'd be at, but I'd be in the car at least. But I thought about it. Now I'd go see John Wick because I'm a huge fan of John Wick. I am.
Okay, we got Frank with us.
Not yet.
No Frank right now. We're trying to. It's just kind of in and out choppy. It's just nothing.
Okay,
nothing
so while we're waiting for Frank, maybe we can wrap up our last conversation before break.
Yep.
We had talked about what was I saying now? Let's see. I'm old. My memory goes real quick.
You didn't play football like I did, Maya. You didn't have all those hits to the head.
I didn't. It's just, it's just a little bit of, whatever. It's old age is coming, But
you want to see The Matrix?
I would see
Matrix
that.
would be
I was
dope.
next because I would see. Here's the problem.
Are you a Keanu Reeves fan though? Is that you? That's your
Dude, that's like my Hollywood husband. I love me some sleuth Keanu Reeves, pigeon-toed, walking away. Yes. You could probably show me Speed. You could show me a bunch of stuff with Keanu Reeves. But no, I do.
Excellent Adventure.
That's the least of my favorite. But I actually would go see. I was gonna say The Matrix would be something else because I did really. And to me, that's a big outside. Like that would have a good because the way that it's shot.
That movie, yes.
Because the thing is, some movies are shot on a certain format that are meant for larger screens like that. So hence the experience is different. So if you didn't see them in IMAX, and a lot of them IMAX wasn't big when they came out, to see them in a larger screen format like a drive-in, you probably would really enjoy it. So you probably could give me stuff like Star Wars. So I go see all that stuff because I'm a sci-fi person. So
give me action. Give me a Jason Statham movie. Give me a Fast and Furious movie. I
never got into the Fast and Furious stuff.
Oh, I did big time. Big time. Love the Fast and
Furious. But anything Jason Statham, like the transporter stuff, loved it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Loved it.
Anything with action, Jet Li. You know what I mean?
I would go see James Bond with obviously the new ones. I would go see that.
Okay.
Because they're good action stuff. So yeah, action to me. Because the thing about drive-ins, okay, unless you have an agenda, you're not trying to sit in the car with a romantic comedy. I'm just saying. It's like I'm just being honest. So if you're trying to keep my attention, John, you went the wrong way. I'm over here. You're supposed to. He was be like, see, there you go. But okay, but back to sports while we wait for Frank to tune back in. So the thing about here's what I want people to think about with what the NCAA is doing. Timing is everything. Bingo. So realistically, don't think that all of a sudden this likeliness conversation comes into play because it's the right thing to do. Once it was the whole one and done thing is over, that's because remember, that's not the NCAA. That was the NBA. That was their rule that they were putting into place. Yep. Once they lifted that, hoping to filter more things into the G League or to get their hands on those good early talents, this was the NCAA's way. Because remember, the heels dug in about no for the longest time. But now it's like, well, wait a minute. This is a way for them to generate revenue and it doesn't come out of our pocket, but it may give us even more control because even if, let's say, you're a 3-star recruit and having a good college career, but the money is flowing in because of sponsorships, chances are I'm going to keep you longer because unless you're going right to the pros with a big lucrative contract, the G League, which did remember roll out new contracts, but only that one player per team was going to get the big payday. It's going to make those players want to stay longer and play basketball in college and get all of that celebrity, March Madness, all that thing, because now they can make money. Not to mention now they can give that money to their families, and now there's no conflict of interest. So if I'm a big recruiting school like Duke who got caught with their pants down, and there's going to be a spanking coming, and it's probably going to be a hard one, so to speak. Not that, but this is SNL.
Well, I'll pick it up.
That's why I can say it. But it's going to be that situation where overall they're being open to the idea of this pay for your likeliness because one, it generates the revenue that the players want. It doesn't actually come out of pocket for them to do it. And the second thing is that it can keep them longer in the program. So don't think that all of a sudden they were just being kind and open about it. They legitimately saw the value now of wanting to pay them at this point.
Yeah, anything to do to keep kids in, and it'll keep because there's going to be a lot of people who are tweeners. Okay, a lot of people who get advice from some of their people said, yeah, go to the go to the go pro. You have other people saying, hey, you should stay a year. And if the situation is if you're getting mixed reviews and you're saying, okay, well, you know what, I might need because truth, you know what I mean. You may want to front to your friends and say, oh, I'm going to the NBA, but you also know where you stand. And this may also lead you to say, hey, let me just get one more year. I got 40,000-50,000 coming in with, the car dealerships, with the autograph signings, with this, with that, with the other. So, let me just one more year might be good. Okay. And still, if you realize you're not going to the NBA or NFL, well, then there's a chance for you to cash in. Not only are you getting a good education or taking advantage of it, but also you're getting paid in the process.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. So the NCAA, trust me, I never felt that there was this all of a sudden come to Jesus moment about, it isn't fair that we monopolize on your likeliness and you can't. No, It was a way for them to see another way to create a stream of income to be able to play these players without having these max contracts. And I'm wondering, see, here's the finer details I don't know. And we'll have to grab another NCAA person to talk about this, or maybe even next time, David will know more about it, is how does this affect scholarship? Is there any kind, is it going to look more like a contract than a scholarship? Because think about it. Now that money is being generated outside of a scholarship realm, this no longer is a scholarship.
Yeah, but it's not coming from the school.
It's not, but it's coming, but they're players at the school. And Shawn, if they weren't players at the school, because this becomes the argument for recruiting for schools that don't have maybe the same type of illustrious reputation as the Big Five do. You know what I'm saying? This all of a sudden now they've got more power, even though for mid-major schools, they need to get ahead of the curve and say, go start looking for some sponsors and maybe try to pull people in to come to your mid-major schools as well, because they're not remiss either. So that car dealership that might be in Wichita, that Wichita State can go after, whatever the case may be, this creates a whole nother level. And this is where that back-ended alumni jumps in, because tons of alumni will be like, well, if you find, I'm telling you, a lot of really bad behind-the-scenes stuff is going to happen, because they're going to be like, look, you find a person just to be able to pay the money will be there. And here's the thing. At that point, I'm going to flat out tell you this. It's not for me to judge it at this point. However they get the money to pay the people, I really don't care. I don't. The kids deserve a right to make the money, but it's going to become a major competition now, because this is a whole nother level that's been missing for these kids to generate income, because their lives are controlled by these sports. They can't really work, I'm never going to step away from this, and I don't care how anybody. I don't feel that it's the responsibility of an 18-year-old to take care of their family. I get very in my feelings about how so often within my respective community, the minute someone realizes they have a talented individual in their family, everybody leans into them and makes them the person that has to be the catalyst for change in their family and take care of everybody.
Because you didn't want to do your part, what you're supposed to do.
But my thing is, you were an adult long before I ever reached to this point. And we've seen this ruin so many things, like with the Jackie Robinson team, how those adults ruined this for those kids. I'm never going to be okay with feeling like you got to go take care of your mama because your mama can't take care of herself. Unless your mama is physically ill and has a health issue. I don't like that people lean on people like that to feel like, look at the crappy contract that Scottie Pippen took. And his whole mindset was, I got to take this money from my family. A whole bunch of adults, right? And what are these adults doing? So I'm not big on that. I'm all about taking care of family, but I'm also not going to compromise my future or make every decision I make, especially if we're talking about a bunch of adults. You know what I mean? And not like, say you got younger siblings, that's a little different maybe. But if we're talking about a bunch of adults, I get real upset. But remember my conversation I had about AAU basketball. Again, I know we know that the Irvin family's in this, and they're very vested because of the Mac Irvin fire. I said this last time. I'm going to say it again. This is such a pivotal time for their influence right now. I don't know if they know it. Seriously.
It's big time, because you're the gatekeepers. You're the gatekeepers of the talent. Okay. And more, as much, if not more so than the high school coaches. Okay. Because the high school coaches, AAU, you're playing different. The restrictions for college coaches to visit AAU there are none right now due to by the NCAA. Okay, and that's how college coaches get around it. So now, like, okay, if this coach puts in a good word, if my coach puts in a good word for me with Calipari, with Krzyzewski, with anybody, then I have a better shot of being offered at that school. So these college coaches, or these AAU coaches, they're the gatekeepers, and we talked about before saying, hey, listen. Maybe do go to HBCU. Maybe the amount of influence they have on a personal level, in addition to their professional, or I don't know, because they're not professionals yet, but in addition to their craft being basketball, they have a huge amount, and they need to understand the responsibility that they have and make sure that they don't abuse it and use it for their own gain. And say, okay, listen, you got to make sure because they won't say give me money. They'll say, make sure you take care of the Chi-Town ballers, when you make it big, make sure you help somebody who helped you, and give back a huge amount, which I agree to a certain point, but like, don't start, extorting guys for like $1,500,000, $1 million, back from the AAU program, because it goes right in the pockets of the coaches.
And my thing is, because I'm just a very open-minded, I always believe there is enough for everyone. And Bernard, you're right. He said he agrees that student athletes should receive income, whether it's prorated or placed in future funds after college, but something needs to happen. Well, that part has been lifted. So that part is true. A lot goes into the college athlete as your whole life is dedicated to your sport of choice along with coursework. Well, I don't know about the coursework, but yes, Bernard, I will say one thing I can take a little bit of pride in is that Iowa was big about graduating their athletes beyond the other BS. But AAU has destroyed basketball, but has helped youth volleyball, baseball, volleyball, and football. That's interesting. I don't know much about AAU and other sports.
For football, it would be like 7-on-7.
Okay.
7-on-7. A good friend of mine, her son. I mean, she's posted all over my Facebook wall. She's in Arizona, she's in Florida, Texas, Cali, with her son on a 7-on-7 travel team. So the AAU and the football aspect of it is 7-on-7 type deal because there's no contact or anything. Not in football, not in AAU football. No.
Here's the next thing that will be interesting to talk to somebody in a future show as we get closer, obviously, to the season starting, hopefully with college football, is to get some insight into knowing how this kind of getting paid for your likeliness, what exactly does that verbiage mean? What stipulations are there? Like, are the big contracts able to come after them, like the Adidas, the Gatorades? Is there a cap on what likeliness?
There will be a cap on that hasn't been determined yet. There will be a cap on the amount of money an athlete can make if they happen to get signed by another school that goes to another shoe company. You just can't wear that. You can't wear that shoe during the game because they sponsor that school. So you can wear. So if you're in a Nike school and you get sponsored by Adidas, okay, you can wear Adidas around campus all you want.
Right.
Okay, but you can't wear that in any school sanctioned event, a game or event or meeting or anything that has to do with.
That piece, I would think that.
Yeah, you can't wear an opposing shoe. That
makes sense to me. But can I then do, for instance, that sounds like that MMA. The UFC's like that. That's why UFC fighters don't make no money because the contracts are so stiff about what they can do. Any outside marketing that they have has to come from when they're not in the octagon. They can't bring any of their sponsorship in. So I get that piece. But my question is, can Trevor Lawrence, let's say this could apply to Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. Can he then go do a commercial for Puma? Can he be in a Puma ad? Not in any of cleansing gear, but just as Trevor Lawrence. Can he do that?
Most likely, yes. He's not representing the school.
That's a win. Here's the thing.
Here's the question. How much is the cap?
See, that's my question.
How much is the cap?
But here's how this works.
The cap, then you can say, because you may, I guess you can fudge it and say, okay, because you don't want to, if you're a kid, you don't want all your money to come from one place, I would imagine. You want to max it out with whatever the cap is.
Well, if you got Puma, then you don't need, generally speaking, within the stipulations, it's going to be like outside of your school sponsored, obviously brand, then it's us. I get that. But then that's when you move on to other stuff. Because here's the thing, from a marketing standpoint, there are so many avenues for people to sponsor. You know what I'm saying? So it's wide open at this point.
Yeah, it's the Wild West. It's going to be a lot of trial and error. So it's probably not going to settle in for like 4 or 5 years once they see how people take advantage of the system and things like that. Because first of all, there's going to be a lot more alumni handshakes at this particular point, and there's a lot of alumni handshakes now. There's a lot of alumni handshakes now, but there'll be a lot more. Hey, listen, go. I need you to do an errand for me, and you're gonna pick up an envelope and just keep what's in the envelope.
But see, this is where schools we're gonna be walking that tightrope, because of the fact that here's the thing: don't muddy your waters by trying to hand envelopes of money. Don't be dumb. Find a way for your alumni to be able to get that money someplace else.
Oh yeah.
Period. Yeah. So here's my thing: is it going to be a stipulation that says sponsorship can't come from alumni companies? Now, personally, I don't think that's fair, because if I'm an alumni and I can afford to pay you, so be it. So be it. I don't think that should be a stipulation, but you're doing something for my brand. So say it's something like I have a trucking company, you know what I'm saying? And I want you to do a commercial for my trucking company because, here comes another Iowa reference, Bernard. Yes, he made a comment about it. Here comes another one. Say I have a trucking company and I'm, I give funds to Iowa, and I want to pick up, their QB or whoever their hot player is right now to do a commercial. Be like, hi, I'm so-and-so. And, it's important that trucking, because people in Iowa will know that player. You know what I'm saying? Hence, You did a commercial for my trucking company, but you never mentioned Iowa. You don't say who he is, but the likeliness is there because you know who the player is because of you watch Iowa football. I think as long as legitimately money changes hands, I don't believe that the alumni should be pigeonholed from having a student be an advertiser or marketing for their say they own a restaurant and they want to have them come sign autographs. It should be okay to do it. There shouldn't be any stipulation to that. Just obviously what you sign might be the interesting part. Because will there be a stipulation that says, if you're a football player, can you sign a picture in Iowa? Can it be a photo of you in your Iowa uniform or no? Just a photo of you. But if a fan brings me in your jersey, is that okay?
So yeah, that's going to be an interesting question. There's going to be a lot of parameters that are going to be set up because otherwise it's going to be the Wild West. I think it's going to be the Wild West, and there's going to have to be some things put in place sooner than later. But it's just going to be a trial and error because, like you said, if it's a legitimate, if it is a jersey, I mean, if someone went and bought a jersey, well, I personally don't see why you can't sign it. Because,
right.
It's not part of the school. They already got their money. It's for the money that you paid for the jersey.
Right.
So yeah, I look forward to seeing how this plays out. I really do. And first and foremost, what I want to see is a cap. What is the amount that those players can make? I
think it should be a cap. I agree with you on that. I could see the stipulation coming in about, though, for instance, if I'm a sports memorabilia broker, there would be an issue with, I want to have you sign 10 jerseys so I can auction or sell them. You know what I'm saying? And I pay you for them. That might be a conflict of interest. See, those are those little, here's the thing. It's going to take time to truly flesh this all out. So athletes getting free education now, they need money too. Okay, here's Sylvester Joyce. And by the way, I just got to update that Frank Schwab is having some technical stuff, so he can't join us today, Shawn.
Okay.
Just want to let you know. I'm not sure if you saw that. Frank, I was so looking forward to having you on. I'm disappointed. Anyways, but it's interesting that Sylvester Joyce says that because I have always been one of those people that really felt like there was an undervalue of the education piece. Because if anybody knows how much a college education costs, seriously, it's not cheap. Just ask somebody who's trying to pay for it. So I always felt like that was devalued, so to speak. But the issue came in for how much money the universities were making off of these individuals, and they weren't getting any residuals. Though I said it was a symbiotic relationship, because without the university, that career of that high school player, unless they're prolific and can go right to the pros, doesn't happen. But then the growth and that player is going to the next skill level then provides another individual that gets put into the college football program or basketball. What's different about college sports, like unlike the pros to me though, and this is why I think it's such an interesting kind of thing to work out, is at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who comes through Iowa for basketball or football. I never stopped being an Iowa fan. At the end of the day, we have an allegiance to our school. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I think when you flip to the pro sides, it's a bit different. People tend to follow players around more so than a true allegiance. I mean, there are people who are truly, they have an allegiance to their team, but that pro player, their marketability is way different at the pro level. And this is that weird relationship you try to navigate. One of the things that I kind of personally felt was players have a right to be paid for their likeliness, especially when the number one jersey being sold is your jersey. That tells me people are into you. Whether there's a cap, I'm with you, Shawn. There could be a cap on it, and maybe residual could go into an after you leave college kind of fund. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now, see, just like that, Sylvester Joyce, I liked you, and now we no longer can really be friends. Because he had to say, go Ohio State. Really? But here's the thing. Here's the thing why I know you're not a good Ohio State fan, because you didn't say, go the Ohio State. See? I can be petty. I can be real petty. People don't know that. Yes, you do. You know that, don't you? Right? But so there's a lot of, you're right, Shawn. There's a lot of details that have to be worked out here. There really is.
He's talking about, all right. He's mentioned, Sylvester was talking about free education, free money. All right. It's about the what you earn for that school. Okay. And I get it. The program's there before you. Mm-hmm. But when you're talking about a superstar and you start talking about jerseys and you're talking about, basically that player's likeness, But you imagine if you think of Chris Webber and the Fab Five, just for starters, because that was
I
one
know.
of the things.
I know.
I mean, even though they were getting money underhand, I mean, Chris Webber will tell you he was broke. But listen, you got big time alumni handshakes. But if everything was done was above board, okay, there are times, and there are a lot of pro athletes who don't. I mean, a lot of college athletes who don't have money, who really don't. They come from tough backgrounds. Okay, so one of the things that a lot of athletes have said, like, it's so difficult just to go get a pizza. All right, because what if you're done of course you get your room and board. You get a meal plan. But what if it's 8 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, and you're hungry, you're studying, you're doing whatever, and you want to go get something to eat? You don't have that money.
Okay, stop.
What?
See, this is where I get on my soapbox about this.
About what?
Legitimately, you have a meal plan. And I remember how the athletes at Iowa, they had their meal tables were nothing like what we were eating in the dorms. So by no means are you being starved. Now, because you want extra above and you want to live like that, you want that Chance the Rapper, Lupe Fiasco. No.
Said that. You just want to Subway sandwich at 10 o'clock at night because you're studying or you're hollering at some honey. Like, hey, I got you. Let's go get some meat. I
thought if you were the college Mac, that honey was probably buying you the pizzas. What's going on with that?
Could be.
Because I don't remember no college athlete dropping no money on no female. I'm just saying.
Oh, she's right about that one.
So if your game is where it's supposed to be, you driving somebody's car, they doing your laundry. Now, mind you,
I wasn't gonna bring that part up, Maya.
I'm gonna say this. I wasn't that chick, so let me preface this. But I watched it happen, and I was like, "What? No, yeah, you can holler, but you ain't driving my car." Hence,
Real quick story. When I was in college, my freshman year, I was one of the few freshmen that played, and I led it all 4 years, and that was pretty wild. So I met a young lady, and so for the good portion of my freshman year, I was driving around in an eggshell white 944 Porsche.
See, that's what I'm saying. So, Shawn, you're talking to me about these extra, perks they have. I watched a ton of, and some of my best friends were athletes at Iowa. I watched, they didn't do nothing. They were driving girls' cars. Girls was coming and doing their laundry. I was like, I'm the wrong gender. I was like, because I'm missing out on all the perks right now. Because I'm like, if this is how it goes, clearly I was not blessed with the right gender. That's how
I just wanted to say, of course, college athletes, especially if they're top of the line athletes, they're not going to want for really anything necessarily. It's not like they're in dire straits where they're living on the streets. They're living in the storage room of the dorm, or something like that, and they're being fed scraps. It's like that's not the case. But I think after your college career, and thinking about some of the athletes that aren't going to play professional sports, I think that plays a huge, them being able to make money off of their likeness and make money just period while they're going to school is very beneficial to their future as people, as human beings, besides outside of sports, especially if you're not going to continue that career.
I mean, and that's the thing. There is a flip side to this coin, that for all those athletes that were not going to matriculate to the pro level, you know what I mean? There is that piece that there's a lot of perks. Like I'm saying, I know a lot of guys that went and played abroad. They end up getting better, getting put into jobs at different places. So there is a lot of perks to it besides just because everybody's not going to be, it's not making it to the NBA or the NFL or to the MLB. Let's be honest. Like what we might say, maybe less than, not even 0.5% of those people.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like on a team that's eligible that gets drafted at that level. I mean, so but the thing about if you had a good relationship with obviously your program, they're going to look out for you and you're going to find something else. Because I know a lot of guys are doing other things outside of football because they just obviously had decent college careers, but they were kind of that utility player, but they went on to do other things because of their alumni connections. So, I mean, here's the thing. It's a strike a balance in this, and this isn't an easy conversation. I'm just glad that there's going to be some form of revenue generated for the players because of how they're used. I'm not saying it's got to break the bank, but I think out of fairness, they deserve something because the schools were clearly unless the jersey just said whatever the school was. And I'm sorry, Sylvester Joyce, unless the school said Iowa on it, because he's mad about me talking about Iowa. The bottom line is that if it's blank on the back, it was all about the school. But the minute you pop my name on the back and someone decides to do that, they buy the jersey with my name on it, that means they like me. And I should be compensated accordingly.
Not even that, Maya, because sometimes they won't even sell it. But if you're in Michigan back in the day and you had a number 5 jersey, you weren't buying it for Michigan. You were buying it for Chris Webber. and so on and so forth. So when you buy, a jersey,
Well,
and it
the
may not
number.
have
I'm sorry. Yeah, the number 2. Yeah.
The number, because those. So all of a sudden you see a spike in Michigan 5 jerseys. A month or two after the basketball season started. Is that because someone just loves 5, number 5, and they love Michigan? No, it's because of a specific player, and that's where they need to be. That's why I feel they need to be compensated, and they should be. Well, listen, we got to take a quick break, our last break of the day. So don't go anywhere, folks. More sports conversation coming up next. So don't go anywhere. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago.
Quicken Loans presents the Sports Flash, driven by Jeep on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone. Cub star Jason Kipnis on ESPN says that what's going on with baseball right now is definitely bad for optics.
You're mad at the sport of baseball, but someone on an afternoon game of 80-degree weather invites you to the ballpark, you're going to turn it down. It's still a great day, still a great tradition, still an amazing day to share with a father and son and stuff like that. There's so many beautiful things about the game of baseball that I got to believe it's got some staying power to make it through this stuff, but there's no denying that right now it's just a bad look.
Longtime Giants pitcher Mike McCormick, who won the Cy Young Award in 1967, has passed away at the age of 81. The NFL has announced that the 2021 Pro Bowl will be played at the new Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, just a week before the Super Bowl in Tampa. The game on the books for Sunday, January 31st. No monthly payments for 90 days, 0% APR for 84 months. Details at Jeep.com. The Sports Flash is driven by Jeep. Chuck Sanders, 1330, 95.9 The Zone.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee receipt. This discount rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago on this Hump Day edition. Man, we had a technical difficulty. We couldn't get Frank Schwab on, and I was excited to talk to Frank. Love talking to Frank. He's one of the people. There's about 3 people in the country that you go to for NFL news. Frank's one of them, and we're very fortunate to have that relationship. And it was tough that we weren't able to get him on. But we'll be able to get him on in the near future. Just wanted to talk a lot about it. One of the things we want to talk about, if we can continue this.
I can't hear anything.
I think we lost Shawn for a second.
Yeah, we did. Shawn, I told you to hold back on those edibles. No, I'm just kidding. he keeps. I'm totally making it up. He keeps getting frozen. He's like. Oh, he's gonna be like, Maya, why did you say that? I swear, I'm just making it up just to be, just to be an ass. I swear to God, I am. But yeah, so Frank Schwab, unfortunately, we couldn't get him on. It was a technical thing. He writes for Yahoo Sports. He's the guy. He's the guy that's connected with all the leagues. Well, hopefully.
I wanted to hear him talk about Mitch versus Nick.
I did too. So hopefully we can get him. We can get this resolved so we can have him on for Friday to talk about it. But we were gonna go over some NFL stuff with him, obviously. Which when Shawn gets back, we'll jump into that stuff with him too. It's interesting because people are posting a lot of different questions about the college thing. Is interesting. It really puts a whole nother level to the conversation. I'm
sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can say it.
I just feel like that it's silly to think that these players, these student athletes, aren't like we should question whether they should benefit from what they're doing now. Like, okay, so yeah, you're going to school, you have a scholarship, you're being taken care of to an extent, right? But why can't they go ahead and build towards their future? what they're doing right now, and using this platform, which is the school, whether it be Iowa, Michigan, Chattanooga, who knows? You know what I'm saying? Like any college that they're at, that platform they're using to build their lives. Like they're pushing forward. Like if we teach kids to go ahead and look to their future and prepare for their future, isn't that something that could benefit them in their future?
I mean, it is, but it's just because understand, for many of the athletes on the college level, they're not going to generate revenue. This just, let's be honest. I'm going to flat out say it. If it's a girl sport, it's probably not going to be as popular. At some schools, it might be like you're at UConn, or Tennessee, or basketball, Notre Dame. Some of these schools are going to be able to kind of parlay into some other places, which will be good for them. This is going to be the school's area of, this is a problem, navigating. I mean, but if you're allowed to have an agent, then it takes it out the hands of the school, and that's what I want to happen. I don't want it to be in their hands deciding how this works. Just put your parameters in place, know where the rules are so no one oversteps their boundaries. I think, for instance, I would even be okay with the idea if it said that if, let's say, Puma also wants to have Trevor Lawrence and his mother in a commercial, if his mother gets compensation for it, the school shouldn't be angry. But it's not the school. So maybe they're doing a mom and son thing. So be it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the case might be, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I was thinking more like you use specific units, like like you use the entire defensive line, use just the secondary, the 4 starters on the secondary, use the running back, fullback as you know what I mean? Like you could do so many things, such like commercial wise or just straight like picture advertisements and such with that, and then everybody gets compensated. So like you're compensating so many other people, even if they don't have a line or they're just standing there, they still get something. So so it's like it'll be a deal between like the businesses and the school, the schools and the teams and such. But you would be able to expose more players, and you'll get more players a little cut of a little piece of the pot.
It's going to be a really difficult and slippery slope. Because I can see this going totally amok. I can, because a lot of companies have money to throw at this, and where this may become a glaring disparity will be the schools that maybe don't have access, like their program is not as renowned as a Duke or a Clemson or an Alabama, depending on your sport, conference, whatever the case may be. The mid majors again that already struggle to recruit now have their backs against the wall even more, because they may not still have the same level of access and reach as those Big 5 conferences, but they still at least have the ability to attempt to provide something to get them there. So when it's finally rolled out with parameters, I want to see what they are. And to be honest, I really want to see a director of equity put in place for players. One of the things that has not existed for college athletes has been representation. I've always felt as an athlete, you should have the ability to have a grievance. That you should be able to imagine if there was a platform set up with the NCAA about all the little things that were going on, and you were able to take a grievance that takes it outside of your organization. Because a lot of times players, like they flat out said, they didn't say anything because they knew if they started giving pushback, unless you were the star player, you might not play. So when you have a director of equity and inclusion, that kind of gives you a ability to be able to have a voice. But now that we're entering more money into the situation, I personally feel that the players really need an outside entity. You know what? It's actually time for a NCAA players union. Seriously, because now you're putting money in it, and I kind of feel like that changes the whole complexion of what's going on. All right, hey, he's back. He's back.
I'm back, baby.
You missed
like a Mercury retrograde or something. Like Frank couldn't get on because of technical issues. I had some technical issues. Like what is it, Mercury retrograde or something? It was ridiculous.
Well, all those cell phone companies around the country have been having some technical issues for the last couple of days, which was interesting.
Yeah,
so it's like
they were supposed to honor Obama that they had you couldn't get on. Interesting.
So, like one be like, Frank, you got Boost Mobile? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Prime Code. You still got that Prime Code?
Yeah. So, but that has been an issue. Like, I'm not sure how he was dialing in. So either way, hopefully we can get him on Friday so that he can, be on the show and kind of fill in the gaps for that. So, all right. So what are we shifting gears to now?
So another thing, one of the things that I thought was kind of funny, and we talk about this, I know you would love this and get into it, is Roger Goodell. now says he encourages a team to sign Kaepernick. Where was this encouragement in 2017? Where was this encouragement in 2018? Where was this encouragement in 2019? Oh, we had to have a guy die for you to see it? Oh, well, okay. Oh, that's what he meant when he said police. Oh, no, dude. You know, I Roger Goodell, I get you. You're getting paid $40 million. You're the shield for the shield. You're a shield to the owners, and you basically answer to them. But man, dude, for you to come out and say now you encourage a team to sign, come on, bro.
Look, I've said this all along. Everything you're seeing from Roger Goodell to just across the country, this shift in support in general has everything to do with the aggressive social climate, not the social climate, but the aggressive social climate. I mean, when you got people in Seattle that have blocked off 6 city blocks and call it the autonomous zone, which means no police, things are happening around the country and it's getting a little uneasy, so to speak. This is legitimately, we are seeing another form of not just civils, but human rights movement. We're seeing a human rights movement, which to me just topples even more above what the civil rights movement was. So I've always said this, and people I'm like, okay, no one wants to listen, but this is how this works. Black people could jump up and down, stomp their feet all day long. And for whatever reason, we're always told, you need to calm down. It's like the same story. It's the same rhetoric all the time from you. Just whatever. Okay. The minute you insert the other side, which is people who come from the power base in this country, which are white, wealthy, then you add white females into it. And then when everybody else supports it along with it, whenever you throw money at this, it changes the conversation. And now you've got corporations saying, oh, well, we can't have a stand like this anymore, because a lot of people stood back and didn't do anything. So Roger Goodell is just giving me lip service, even though I think what he's doing is he's throwing the onus back on the teams. He's like, I'm just the umbrella. I'm the NFL. I can't bring Kaepernick on board with any team. A team has to make that decision. And if they do at this point, we're all going to say, because plenty of teams have needed quarterbacks for several seasons.
And hired arena guys and semi-pro guys and guys walking off the street when you could have had Colin Kaepernick.
Mike Glennon kept getting the job. I mean, come on now, chicken neck. I mean, really. So we all know this is a form of appeasement, so to speak. And my thing is, here's my question. And here's the thing about Kaepernick that drives me crazy. I take exception with the fact that, great, you started this movement and then you just let other people run away with it. You never brought it back center when people kept attracting and saying it was an anthem protest. It was about veterans. No, it never was. And he never bothered to ever correct people. I hate when people decide they want to do something socially correct. But when you decide you want to be he wasn't an activist. He was an advocate. And I don't know if he knew how much heavy lifting it was. I don't know if he did his homework or not. But the bottom line is the fallout that happened didn't surprise me, because if you know anything about when you're an activist, it comes with a heavy cost. Just look historically how this has panned out. So my thing is, he never bothered to tell anybody that's not what this is about and this is why. And that irritated the shit out of me. It really did. I was like, why did you start something and you let everybody else just go run off with it? And now we're nowhere we need to be. Oh, and now we look back in 2020 and now we're talking about, well, when Kaepernick took a knee, and then he wants to sit there and be like, well, yeah. I'm like, dude, shut up. Because you never bothered to stick on your square. Can't send a man to do a woman's job. Okay. With that being said,
mine was spicy this morning.
Well, I've called him on that the whole time.
You have.
What would happen if Moses, Malcolm, and Martin all decided to not stay on their square? And if he was like Moses, Moses was black.
Not according to the movie.
You're right though. You're right.
Not according to the movie.
I mean, understand.
Hey, I've seen Ten Commandments a million times. He wasn't black.
I'm serious. If they had not stayed on their square, if they had allowed people to detract them when they kept trying to say it and appease them, we wouldn't be where we are. So when you decide to put something like that on the table, when people come at you, you have to say, that's not okay. I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to move away from the conversation. What I'm saying is that black and brown people are not policed properly. It's their injustice to it, inequality. And there's an implicit bias that has stood with law enforcement for a long time. He just let people run away with it. And I was like, dude, can you bring people back? And then I got real irritated, because then it went from a conversation about the policing of black and brown people to, well, now he's been blackballed. He don't have a job. Then it just became about Kaepernick. and not even the thing he took a knee for. So then I got very disinterested. I was like, well, now, whatever. I just didn't care at that point. I was like, it's not about him. And you have to know that when you decide to speak up, it comes with a consequence. It doesn't mean that it's right. I'm not saying that. So with him, I'm lukewarm on Kaepernick about that. But now he looks like, again, it's a lot of people in this situation who look like heroes. But for me, I'm like, what they did was an important piece of the puzzle, but it's not a hero for me because I know my history and I know what a hero looks like. People may not like to hear me say that, but if you know your history, you know what a hero looks like. And it's not just taking a knee. What people don't understand about this right now, Shawn, is you can protest, you can hold a sign, you can take a knee, but that's not where change comes from. Are you ready to deal with the powers that be when it comes to creating legislation that institutes change? And that means going back and look at your elected officials from judges, aldermen, mayors, governors. Have you elected people that really have done anything for you? And if not, put people in place who can be the catalyst for change. Didn't anybody watch Schoolhouse Rock? I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill. Remember that?
No, I remember it. I got almost recited verbatim. I mean,
change happens because legislation leads it. That's what our Constitution is based on. So stop thinking because you're having a temper tantrum with a sign that it's going to change what we do. It's not. That's not. We have so much more work ahead of us in regards to laws and legislation to make a change. I'm just waiting for people.
I was okay with Jay-Z saying, he goes, the time for, they talked about, is it okay if you kneel? Like, he goes, I think we're past kneeling because we are. You can't keep, because if you continue to keep kneeling and say, okay, great, but that's not getting anything done. And at that point, Jay-Z's like, no, that was a necessary thing that needed to be done. It was done. Now the next phase has to happen. You can go back and kneel and it's great, but that's at that point, it's a moot point. Truth be told, it's a moot point.
And I don't know why people don't seem to get that. It's like, it's wonderful. It calls attention to the cause. But now the next piece is that people need to look at getting better elected officials. So we have a president election on the table right now. We do. For all those people who didn't vote, I'm like, I'm not trying to be funny. I was like, so for all the protesting, did anybody set up a voters tent? So you can be like saying, excuse me, I'm glad you're protesting. Are you registered to vote? Can we do that right now? Because we need to make sure that we take care of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's things that have to happen. And I just feel like people like the fanfare of things, but they don't like the heavy lifting. And it's the heavy lifting that institutes change. And that's just where I stand with this. So I'm like, I haven't been to a protest. Yes. I'm like, I might have done that 20 years ago when I was in college, well, it was longer than that. Oh, goodness. But anyways, because I'm that person looking at ways to do things that's going to institute change. I realize it's not about just me holding a sign. It's about educating people, being part of petitions. It's about what office are you running for? Okay, how can I help you with your platform? That's where I'm investing my time. Because I can never be.
You're older and you're smarter, like you said. So people are just the novelty of. I was in the riot. I was at Woodstock. I was here. I was in the march, the civil rights march. People want to do things because they want to be able to say I did. I was there.
I am going to the march on Washington in August. I am, because that's my cup of tea. Just like I went to the Million Woman March when it was in Philadelphia. Okay. I am going to that because that kind of thing for me does have a lot of. It's a force to be reckoned with. It's an energy there that's to me going to be absolutely amazing, and it's going to look different than the last time. By the way, you're going to see a lot more people at that march that don't look like Black people than you've ever seen before. But I'm okay with that because it's about people acknowledging we support what they're saying. This is real.
I want one more topic. I'm going to get on, but I will tell you, there was a march in Chicago yesterday, and that was the first time that the LGBTQ, elemental PQRST party stood up and walked with Black people. And that was the first time. You know what? And I was like, okay, now I can take you seriously because you know what? The fact is, you didn't want, you're crying rights for all lives matter. This, okay, well, what about Black rights? Okay, what about Black lives? And now when you sit there and you march hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm with somebody, now you got my respect. So now I can stop saying elemental PQRSTUV movement. It's the LGBTQ movement. And the fact that they did that in Chicago, I was very, very happy for that because you know what? Yes. There are Black people in your community. Okay, and their rights need to be. So not only are they being persecuted for having that type of lifestyle, but most of the time it's because they're Black. Okay, because you can tell someone, depending on how you're dressed, but you're not going to be able to tell someone's LGBTQ, but you can tell that they're Black. Okay, I mean, it depends how you dress. I mean, if you're wearing a fishnet stocking and chaps, assless chaps, then you're probably
Shawn, that's a stereotype. But
I've seen it down in Boys Town. I've seen it.
That's a safe zone. That's still stop that. But I get the point that you're making, that on the outside, when it comes to your sexual preference, generally speaking, it does not speak to someone unless you say it, or there's something about your outward appearance that says it. Or I get that piece. I'm with you on this, because I told somebody, I said, don't ever think when I say I'm disinterested in everybody else's cause right now except for my own. I said I feel the need to be selfish because this is something that we have been trying to fix for a really long time. And I didn't feel like I was seeing the support. The other thing I was just saying the other day to somebody is, I said, I don't know, maybe they're not paying attention. I would love to see more Indigenous people come out. Just because you got paid reparations, and I want to see you, because you were the first crime committed here. I would like to see more Indigenous people. Because their lives, granted, they may have got money, but if you know anything about
land, casino, and alcohol,
if you've ever been on a reservation, it's not a good situation. It's like their sacrifice to try to stay together and maintain their culture has come at a great cost. So I would like to see more Indigenous people as part of this movement as well. So my thing is that I know it sounds selfish. I'm not really interested in anybody else's cause right now, because yes, we're unified. I feel like, here it goes. Black is the new black. That sounds funny, because for a while we weren't cool anymore. We're back. But Black people are like back in style now. I told you, if I hear one more hello from random people, I'm starting to get nervous. Like, hi. Hi.
See, for me, the reason it got so much importance, it was such a monumental thing. And it looks like we're not going to be able to get to the Kenny Williams thing, but was because
yes, we can. Shawn, look, hold on. The boss said
they're cool with it.
Yeah, they're cool. They're like, if we need to go over with it, they're all right with it.
Oh, I ain't know. I ain't know.
Yeah, they said that. They said this is flowing. Keep going.
Okay.
Was that a rhyme?
The reason that I thought that was so monumental was because during the Obama administration, the Black agenda was pushed behind the LGBTQ.
Why do people struggle with that? And
because, it is. I don't know, but that movement got pushed to the forefront. The hashtag Me Too movement, women's movement, got their agenda got pushed to the forefront. So now when you have people whose agendas are at the forefront of society, and when they're standing next to people who's a group whose people has not been pushed or should be pushed to the front, and it hasn't been, now they're saying, hey, now we're looking at everybody. Now it really legitimizes the fact that when people who have, and not that they have power, but they're looked at with, how can I put it? They have a little more voting power and just power in government, generally speaking. So when people in those situations in power align with people who aren't, like still the Black group, it does wonders for the group.
Understand, here's what people understand. For every movement that happened, it literally built off the back of the civil rights movement. When affirmative action happened, it wasn't like, it didn't say this is just for Black people. It didn't say that, which means women and other minorities were able to benefit from it. So all that hard work meant the door was open for everybody. So anything that happens during this movement is going to be a win-win for other people who feel oppressed. That's why I'm cool with you standing next to me, but please don't be trying to slowly push your agenda in front of mine, because let me just say,
they're bringing in front of ours.
Right.
Let's keep it real.
I'm going to say this though, and I'm going to own this about Black people flat out. The reason that the Me Too movement got traction, the reason that the LGBTQ movement got traction is because they had people that were advocates who took legislation to the Obama administration and was demanding change. For some reason, Black people thought that Obama was going to be the savior, and we didn't bother to do anything to give him legislation to make a chance. So he did things like the Brother's Keeper thing with working about prison stuff. He did independent things. But for some reason, we failed to put together legislation to address or to bring things. We didn't come as a powerful voice because we felt that Obama was supposed to do that for us. And I disagreed with that. So everybody got put ahead in the queue because they were pushing their agenda so hard. Bottom line. So that's why I don't take exception to that. I was like, we failed. It was not incumbent upon him to change history by himself. We were supposed to have a voice, and we didn't do it. So we can't be mad about the fact that everybody else benefited from it. I'm glad, but understand too. Pay attention to what you're seeing in this movement. When you see that little fist, like that, that's the Occupy movement. That starts about gross inequality for people, basically. Then the Me Too movement. So the bottom line is, coming into today, we saw two movements that happened that now are feeding into this. Timing is everything. Because think about it. there's been enough police brutality in cases across the country that could have elicited the same type of response, and it didn't until these other movements actually got traction. And now people see there's a commonality in our cause. There's things about microaggressions, macroaggressions, implicit bias, systemic, misogyny and racism. All of a sudden people get it.
You know what? I think we've seen it before, and unfortunately that was the norm for people, and oftentimes there wasn't. And I believe this was one of the biggest reasons was the audio. Okay, because when you saw Rodney King getting beaten back when we were in college, okay, Rodney King, you didn't hear the audio. Okay, you didn't hear him screaming, you didn't hear him that. When you saw Laquan McDonald get shot, you didn't hear him. You didn't hear all the gunshots, boom, boom, boom. You see the flashes of the gun, but when you hear that, man, you see. First of all, you see it, and you understand what happens when your knee is on someone's neck. You understand that. Most people do. Okay, if you watch wrestling, you know damn well what it does. It's a sleeper hold. Okay, and any lack of oxygen to the brain can cause irreparable brain damage to death. So you saw that, but then you heard him screaming. Okay, I think that was I think that pierced your soul more than anything for him crying out to his dead mother. Okay,
and a lot of people said that was the thing. They said they felt like because he was pleading for help,
for his life. And he's like, and he was. It's not like he was fighting. You know what I mean? Like if someone's life gets taken in a fight, okay, you can understand that because it's a battle back and forth, whether it's a fair fight or not. And it's not even. But when he's already handcuffed, face down. Two other officers are on his lower extremities and his back, and you have the third one there. I mean, he's not. And you understand that you don't have you can be racist or not. And you're like, yeah, that's kind of messed up. You just messed up. You understand that, and I think for me, the reason I think it picked up so much traction was the audio. Him and his plea. You heard that sense of despair, like my life is being taken from me. And then when he called out his dead mom's name, he said call for his dead mom twice, I believe. I mean, that pierced you right to your soul.
I haven't seen the video because I can't watch stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
But I want to bring something up before we go because it plays right into this conversation about Kyle Korver says if black players don't play, he won't play either.
Yeah.
That's an interesting stand because I'm like, Kyle, so is it if they're saying they're not playing because of Black Lives Matter? Are we talking about COVID? Like, what's the parameters on this? Is it certain players? Is it just one player? Like, is it just players on his team collectively? I'm assuming he's saying if players on his team say they're not playing, then he's backing and standing behind them. Is that what it is? I mean, because to me, that's a big voice to say that. Like, I'm sticking with my teammates. If they don't play, I don't play. That speaks volumes.
It does, and hats off to Kyle Korver. Shout out to him for taking a stand with his brothers, and like when people in who come from a position of power like he does, being a white person, and he feels it, he understands, and he sees the plight that people he calls brothers. He sees their plight and says, you know what, I'm standing with you because that's jacked up, that's wrong. That's where change happens. When people who have power step with the people who don't have power, stand beside those people who don't have power. And my hat's off to Kyle Korver. Loved him when he was here with the Bulls, and I love him even more now. The fact that he's doing that. Hot sauce. Yes, hot sauce. I love it. One more thing, let's talk about Maya real quick. And that was, I don't know if you heard the piece from Kenny Williams. Kenny Williams did a thing on, it was about a half-hour interview, but we're not going to play the whole thing, just a cut up of it where he talked about his dealings with.
I have his first experience with dealing with racism. It was like the first minute and a half of the.
Let's take a listen to Kenny Williams, and you listen to the whole thing. It's unbelievably powerful because so oftentimes you forget. You'd think that because people have reached a certain level or have and financially and status that things like this don't happen to them. But it still does. Let's check it out, the audio from Kenny Williams the other day from ChicagoWhiteSox.com.
For feeling it and knowing it myself didn't happen until about 8 or 9 years old when my father, Jerry Williams, sued the city of San Jose, California, for the right to risk his life. Really, he wanted to become a fireman. And we got death threats, things thrown on, at our front door, knocks at our door at various times of the night. And when I was 9 years old, my father, on a fishing trip, gave me a .22 and taught me how to shoot a gun. because there would be times he wasn't home, and he was fearful someone may come in, and he had to explain that to a 9-year-old at the time, and I learned how to shoot, and I had a responsibility to protect the household if something happened. So that was the first time I felt that the color of my skin made me different somehow.
That's insane. 9 years old, and and none of us are sitting here saying, well, dude, that's crazy. How do you teach a 9-year-old to shoot a gun?
No.
It was necessary. That's insane. That I think all of us are in agreement. Like, yeah, that was the right thing to do, because to protect your family. Because what if he wasn't home? It was just you and your brother, your siblings and your mom. The love affair that that sons have with their mothers. It really shows you how so many people deal with things that, and I guarantee you, there's so many people in Kenny Williams' circle, white and or black and all of the above, that did not know that story. That did not know at 9 years old he was able to pop a cap in your ass and he knew how to reload. That's insane.
But what's interesting though is that within a lot of other culture groups, Shawn, kids are taught how to shoot guns very young. It's just something within the black culture. Unfortunately, guns are not something that's really integrated into our culture very young. We're not necessarily hunters. I mean, unfortunately, people assume.
Wait a minute, Maya.
Well, no, I'm saying from a protect your house.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not saying there's not some people that don't. Their kids aren't gun. They're not around guns. But think about the reason they're around guns. You know what I'm saying? It's a different reason. And given the time that he grew up, that mindset actually does not surprise me that had to happen, because, we're not as far removed from issues from racism and segregation and slavery as people would like to think. I keep reminding people we're only 54 years out of segregation. Those ideas, those behaviors, those mindsets, those cultural kind of fixtures for a lot of people are ingrained in several generations of people. What we're trying to do now is say this isn't right, and hopefully moving forward we can take it away. So that story he just told, I bet you there's tons of people who maybe could resonate with that grew up in different parts of the country, especially during segregation. Think about people maybe who lived in New York. I always hear those conversations like, is it Bed-Stuy?
Bedford-Stuyvesant, Bed-Stuy, yeah.
Yeah, Bed-Stuy, that they talk about just how clearly there was racial tension. You didn't want to be outside at a certain time. We're talking about New York City. But how some people feared for their lives because on any whim, someone could just see you walking down the street and decide to do something to you. Mm-hmm. And I don't think people realize that was a fear that people lived with for a very long time. So we're not removed from that. They don't realize that. We're not that far past that was a reality for a lot of people. So his story, I guarantee you, would resonate with more people. Now, mind you, I'm kind of surprised. I'm not a Kenny Williams fan. So that part for me is interesting, because then it makes me go, Kenny.
I mean, I can see a lot of his anger and his resentment, and I can see where sometimes you talk about people, he's a bad guy, or he's a jerk, he's a this, he's a that. And I'm not saying just Kenny, I'm just saying people in general.
We can talk about Kenny.
But then you don't understand where they come from. You don't understand the things that they've experienced. And and they literally could be a jerk, but you have to but what made them a jerk? And it's very, sometimes for people, it's very difficult when you grow up and you don't trust people, or you grew up and you had your brother killed in front of you, or you grew up and you had your mother doing drugs, or you grew up and you had your father beating your mother, and all these different things that people don't realize, and it makes you angry because as you know as well as I do, in the black and brown culture, we ain't going to talk to nobody about it.
I'm here. I'm here though. I'm here. You're right. You're right. A lot of people, when they come from that environment, some people want to run as far from it as they can. And we live in a society, if you're affluent enough, you can distance yourself from that type of situation.
The effects, the scars from that
are still there.
Anywhere until you talk to people. And as you know, we just don't like to talk to people. We just don't.
I'm here. All right. No, good show. We didn't have on Frank, unfortunately. So
Frank Shawn from Yahoo Sports.
Yeah. So one thing I want to make sure you guys know, make sure you download the SportsZone Chicago app. It's in the iTunes, Android, Google Play stores, because if you happen to miss any of the shows, all the podcasts are posted there under the podcast section. If you go into the more section and click on videos, you can watch the shows. So you'll have to scroll through Facebook, because the app, remember, everything about what we do on SportsZone Chicago is we are sports talk and podcast driven. We're an app, not necessarily the traditional station concept. So you can find everything we pretty much do on our app. So make sure you're downloading it, you're sharing it, and things of that nature. Pretty soon we'll be back to, incorporating calls, though I'm loving how people are integrating their comments, via Facebook and, posting to the show. So, but the calls will be back and the texting will be back soon as well. So make sure you guys download the app.
Man, 2 hours came and went so quickly. Unbelievable. Maya, I can't wait till we can make the announcements of some of the other people we have coming on board. I'm fired. I'm worse than, I'm not the type of person, like, I hate surprising someone, because I usually can't hold a surprise, but it's eating me on the inside. But I can't wait till we announce some people who are coming on board SportsZone Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely these people are definitely synonymous with the city of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be something really, really cool. And then lastly, before we go, real quick, if you're a rideshare driver, until I'm told differently, my guys still doing a special for rideshare drivers at Phenomenal Auto Spa, 2216 South Kedzie. Just go there, tell them you're a rideshare driver, tell them you need to use the code word SportsZone Chicago, and then you get a $10 car wash, and that's for cars and SUVs. $15 for an extra large or a extra large SUV or minivan. It's outside, inside, and they disinfect the inside. So if you're a rideshare driver, you know how important it is to have the inside of your car disinfected, especially with the current situation with COVID-19. So $10 for a car and SUV, $15 for an extra large SUV like an Excursion or a Escalade EX, one of those type deals, or Suburban or a minivan. So $10 or $15, can't beat it with a stick. Exterior, interior, and disinfect the interior. I want to thank our guest David Kenyon for calling in today with his new look. That surprised me. I was like, "Whoa, David!"
It's like, whoa, you're channeling your inner Viking here. What's going on?
Either that or inner American History X, one of the two. But anyway, that's the story.
Okay. No, that didn't.
It crossed my mind as well.
I'm just saying.
It's a look.
It's a look. It's a look. I'm just saying. Anyway, thank you, David. Great stuff for talking NCAA football and basketball with us today to help make it a great show. We appreciate it. So, guys, we'll be back on Friday, end of the week. Man, this week's gonna be nice. It's gonna be almost 90 today. It's gonna be almost 90 the rest of the week. Man, get your cars washed. I told you where to go. Go get a suntan. The city of Chicago is now open, so the restaurants are.
Wear sunscreen.
Wear sunscreen if you're out there. The restaurants are open now. I can go to this place, check out this new place I haven't been to. It's called Output.
Restaurants are open now?
As of today.
As of today. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, so there'll still be social distancing, but they're open now, not just patios. You can actually go inside the restaurants now and sit down and eat. So make sure you enjoy it. Summertime is here, 90-degree weather, and make sure you consistently get your dose of Shawn and Maya in the morning. So for my Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife, Ivan Vargas.
We'll see you guys Friday.
And my lovely co-host, the co-pilot in this insanity, the one and only Maya Akai.
Oh, wow, mon amis. $2.
I'm your boy, the Superback Shawn Sierra. We'll see you. We have a 46-hour break. We will see you on Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 Central Standard Time. Until then, we got 2 words for you.
Deuces.
We out.